I don't hear myself through my headphones. Yes, man. Like, I feel real good about this right now.
Pay attention, because you are now listening to Permission to Speak Freely.
Episode, right? This is the first time we talk. What's your rank?
E4 right now. Hopefully E5
E4
soon.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So this is the first time we talked to E4. I thought you was an E5. Were you an E5?
No, not yet. No, I think I'm gonna make it off this test. Maybe, if I can get double digits on my quotas, but
Good luck. Good luck.
Here's the wishing.
Good luck. All right. So look, before we introduce you in this pod, though, like I'm gonna ask you a question, right? So I'm gonna paint a little picture. So 2 cars pull up. So somebody tell you you're gonna meet your senior chief, right? And you go meet your senior chief in the parking lot, right? Hey, Damon, what kind of cars you got?
I got a BMW and a Mercedes.
All right, so Damon, he a senior chief. He got BMW and a Mercedes, right? So I'm gonna take one of those cars, right? So somebody say, "Hey, go meet senior in the parking lot," and the BMW pull up. What kind of BMW you got, Damon?
X3.
All right, so the X3 pull up, right? And it pull up right next to a 2015 dusty, busted up Chevy Malibu, right? They both pull up at the same time. Don't nobody get out the car. Which car you think is the senior chief's?
I'm gonna say the Mercedes.
Yeah, the Mercedes or the BMW, right? All right, so that's my issue, man. I don't have a senior chief car, man. That's pretty much what my issue is. That I ain't got no senior chief car, man. It's starting to be. Look, I'm starting to get to that point where, like I don't even want people to see my car, man. I got a Chevy Malibu. Like, I stopped taking care of it. I hate it. You know what I'm saying? It's not the worst car, right? But it's just not a senior chief car, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no senior chief supposed to be pulling up in a Malibu, man. You know what I'm saying?
The Malibu could be good if it was. You gotta keep it clean though, man. You gotta keep the wheels shining on that thing, man. You know what I mean? It'd be all right. You know what I mean? Now, if you got all dusty now, you can't be rolling dusty, man. You know what I'm saying?
That Miley dusty, man. I ain't watched
I'm
the
just
Miley
humble riding around in a Hyundai.
You good though? I'll probably pull up next to you. People won't know which one of us was the was the E4, man. Hey, so I got another real quick question for you, real quick, right? So let's say that, Dan, we're gonna crack this shit super early. So let's say I'm your DLCPO, right?
Okay.
And we got a good rapport, right? We talk about a bunch of stuff. We probably watch the same shows or something like that. So on Monday, I might come in like, "Hey, you check this out," or whatever we into, right? We talk, we got a good rapport, laugh, joke. But I notice, so at some point, I notice you've been slacking or whatever, right? You've been slacking in your work or whatever. Or I just feel like you've been slacking in your work. I have a conversation with your LCPO, right? And I tell your LCPO, like, "Hey, I noticed, you've been slacking." And it's supposed to be between me and your LCPO, this conversation. But you later find out, like somebody overheard it, right? Somebody overheard like about this conversation that this senior chief had or whatever. So you find out about it. How do you feel about this?
Okay, make sure I understand. So the DLCPO comes to my LPO.
LCPO.
And my
your
LCPO.
Chief. Yeah, your chief.
And wants to talk about how I've been slacking.
Yeah, well, it comes up in a conversation. So you got a DLCPO, right? Y'all cool. Like,
okay.
Well, not cool like friends, but y'all have a rapport. Like, y'all talk, y'all speak,
okay.
Y'all laugh, y'all joke, right?
Right.
Y'all do all like the good stuff, good communication stuff. But like you've been slacking or something happened or something legitimately happened. But that DLCPO chooses to talk to your LCPO about it at some point in time. Like it might have came up in their conversation, but somehow somebody overheard it. And they come back and tell you like, "Hey, senior talked to, like for instance, like chief might say something to you or something." He's like, "Damn, like the senior, like, somebody like, well, senior told you this. Like, how do you how would you feel about that?"
Me personally, with the way that my mindset is now, I would just feel like it's another day, it's another Tuesday. Some people say I'm somewhat of a pessimist. So I'm always kind of preparing for the worst in my head anyway. And gossip is just one of the most delicious meals in the world. Everybody has a taste for it. So I'm be like, oh, it's talking shit. You know what I mean? That's how I'm gonna feel about it. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna be bothered. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, no, that'd be cap. But I'm gonna be bothered, but it's not gonna like ruin my day. I'm gonna be like, dang, he's talking shit.
Now let's say you like legitimately been slacking. Like you legitimate, like it's a legitimate, it ain't like he bullshitting, like it's a legitimate thing, right? So my question is more on a side of like, are you like feeling like, man, like how come he couldn't talk about this with me? Why did he talk to my LCPO? Or is that like not an issue at all?
For me, it wouldn't be, even though I would prefer him to come directly to me, for me, it wouldn't be too much of an issue just because I know how the chain of command thing typically works. It always trickles down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very rarely do they go to the person that's the issue. They always go to the person that, the person who is in charge of the person that has the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just look at it like a formality, even though, yes, personally, I would rather them come to me, but I would feel like that's unrealistic.
So would you feel weird? And this is the last question in that thing that I'm gonna kind of ask before we kind of open, right? But would you feel weird if like that person came up to you like the next day, still like coking and joking, like how y'all always was doing? Like, hey, did you see that last episode of Power? Talk about Tariq or whatever. Like, would you feel weird about that, or would you like be like, okay, that's cool?
You know, it's funny. In this scenario, yes, I would, but in real life, this would probably be why I keep my work relationships with people strictly, professional, strictly work. I wouldn't, me personally, I wouldn't build so much of a rapport to where I would be able to feel weird. But laid out in the context that you gave me, yes, if I have a rapport with that person, naturally I would feel weird because I would feel like our companionship or whatever the case may be should like override, that
fuck up.
That fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Damon, what's your thoughts on that?
So I think if I was putting myself in the scene, chief, I probably wouldn't be going right back that soon either and talk to him, like talk about Power, right? What I would do before I talk about Power, I'd be like, hey, did your chief talk to you, man? Did your chief holler at you? And then he'll say, yeah. Then I say, okay, let me holler at you real quick then. Then we'll chop it up and then we can get that relationship back to going and back how we was before. But regardless of the situation, you gotta let them know too, though. You know what I'm saying? If they fucking up, you gotta let them know. But like you said too, BG, it's channels to it. So that's why, he probably didn't go to you, because in some situations like that, if the scene would have came straight to you, then the chief would have been like, hey man, why you didn't use the chain of command?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where that's just how it works. You know what I mean? Just how it works.
Yeah,
Hey, so anybody listening right now, y'all been hearing us talk to somebody else. You've been hearing another voice. If you've been watching, you've been seeing another person on our screen that got a legitimate kind of like atmosphere back there too. Like this ain't the normal, guest that's like in their office with the chief plaques behind them and everything like that. We got like a legitimate like Kevin Samuels vibes going on over there, man. Hey, so who do we got the pleasure of talking to today, man? Introduce yourself.
Hey, what's poppin', YouTube? 911BabyGoat. I can't say welcome to the goat farm. This ain't my shit, but I got something for you. My real name, in real life, my name is Willie, but I go by 911BabyGoat on my YouTube and social platforms. And I have, similar to these two black gentlemen here, I have a platform that's dedicated to helping the 99% understand the life of the 1%, in particular the Navy, but I do talk about multiple branches. And that's about as much as I got without trying to put too much spotlight on me. This is you guys' platform, and I'm honored to be here. I thank you so much for having me on you guys' platform.
Yeah, man. Let's get right to it, man. We most definitely got to find out where that baby goat came from, man. That name came from. Where that come from? Where that stems from?
All right, so I wish I had my damn my little music to play the dramatic music right now. But it's a long ass story. So on my last command, my mentor, he oftentimes called himself the GOAT. I kid you not, this man was the cockiest person anybody has ever met in their life. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna get to the point. I'm just tell you how cocky this man was. I remember one night we were on the flight deck in the middle of the night, and he was always on people about doing the right thing. And we saw he didn't have a float coat on. So we thought we was going to get on his ass. He was like, at the time he was ABH1. We was like, hey, ABH1, you ain't got no float coat on. This man turned around, looked at us, and said, "Son." This man said, "Son, I signed Jesus PQS to walk on water. I don't need a flow coat." This man was extremely confident to the point where he was arrogant. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of looked up to him. So while he called himself the GOAT, I was like, you know what? Since he's my mentor, I'm gonna call myself the Baby Goat. And I made an acronym for it. It stood for Best and Brightest Yellow Shirt, Greatest of All Time. Nice. Which has to do with my rate. Yeah. Once you make it to a certain point as an ABH, you change different color shirts that come with different responsibilities. Now, as far as the 911 part, originally it was actually supposed to be 901, which was an area code from my home city of Memphis, Tennessee. But I made I bullshit you not, I made a Twitch and I forgot the password to 901BabyGoat. It's still somewhere out there. And I'm like, shit. So I had to make a whole nother one, and I put 911 instead. I said, fuck it, I'll put 911 instead. And by the time I made my YouTube channel, at first it was for gaming, but then it went to military content. I was like, you know what? 911 is just going to be in memory of what happened to our country, so many years back. And it just kind of all went together. 911. But what's funny is that even though it's 911BabyGoat, always, if you ever hear me in my intros, I always go 911 the Baby Goat. Because I want y'all to know I'm the Baby Goat.
Yeah.
So that's the long ass story as to how I got my name.
Okay.
Hey,
I can't wait till I'm on CNN talking about it or some shit.
So what made you make the switch from the gaming to military based content?
For the most part, even though I am thinking about going back to talking about gaming, but I kind of had an epiphany because I come home every day. I'm always, bitch moaning and complaining to my wife about all the types of shit that people deal with in the military. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and I kind of just gave myself my own epiphany. I'm like, with all the stuff that I know about the military and how it actually works, I was like, I could literally make a YouTube channel and just help people. And I got curious. And so I decided to go on YouTube because I just got the idea. I said, let me see how many people are making military content. And I saw some here and there.
Yeah.
But I knew, but I'm the type of person, I pay very close attention to detail to a lot of things. And I'm like, I think I can outperform a lot of what I'm seeing right now. It's an open market because if you listen to the intro of my channel, I always say, so the 99% can understand the 1%. I'm like, they tell us all the time, we're the 1% out of the entire country. And that's 99% of people that can't compete with us in this content space. But that's also 99% of people that's interested about this content, but can't make content of their own. If you're a gaming content creator, anybody can game. You competing with the whole world,
Yeah.
The military is one of those few idea platforms where the only people that can really make content about it are people that's either military or military affiliated. And lucky for us, we're the minority. So I saw it was an open space. I saw there was a demand for it. I said, you know what, I'm going in.
So I was looking at your Instagram, right? And I seen some funny it's a video because I was looking at him saying, let me check him out right here, see what's going on. And you had an episode, and man, you had like 6 people on one of these little skits you had, right? And I think it was about Washington State, to be exact. I think it was about Washington State, and you had this. You guys was like talking about experiences and stuff that you guys was doing or whatever. And this one kid was talking about like something about a sock in the window or something. And this girl put put a sock in the window, right? And you went in about this sock. You will not let the sock in the window go. Like, it was like he's still talking about the sock in the window and what it means. So I like for, you let the audience know what that sock in the window mean. Is it in Washington State where they do that?
I guess so. So I didn't know about it until that that was a podcast episode that I had. And I believe that was the relationships in the military episode. And one of the guys on there, he let me know that apparently what a lot of the military spouses would do when we were on deployment is on Bangor base in Washington State, is that they would put socks in their window to kind of let them know, hey, I'm available. You know, you trying to come by. You trying to make this deployment easier for me. I'm just saying.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, and I was distraught. I didn't know that was a thing. I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so it kind of became a run-on joke. In that video in particular, you know, it became a run-on joke, but I brought it back even in a video later. I did a freaking Christmas podcast episode where I was like, oh, you did Secret Santa? Yeah. I was like, oh, what'd you get? Oh, maybe some socks. I was like, this was up. You gonna put it in your window?
That
was hilarious though.
You familiar with socks in the windows?
Huh?
You know anything about that? You was
no, man. First time I ever heard that, man.
It's almost ingenious.
I was just watching. Yeah. I ain't know nobody no sock in the window and watched it, man. I did two tours up there. I ain't know nobody sock in the window, man.
That's the mating call.
But that shit was funny as shit though, man. Because you guys was going on and on about it, man. So I had to touch on that for a minute, man. That shit was funny, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And then old boy was making these faces too, man. Like the other guy that was talking about it, he was making faces and shit.
Yeah, man. Hey, I like that. What'd you say?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I try to whenever anyone ever comes on the podcast, I always let them know, like, be yourself. I curse a lot, so you know, so I'm like, if you don't curse, that's cool, but if you do, feel no need to put on your bill collector voice. Like be yourself. And so what that brings a lot of the time is just hilarious conversations. And you oftentimes end up finding out something new that even I don't know about. And I'm the one with the platform trying to inform others about the military. So yeah, it's a great time.
Yeah, no,
I'm looking forward to having you two guys on there, man. I told you about this.
Oh yeah, you ain't tell Damo, man. I don't know if he wasn't
about
no.
What is it?
No, it's something about the cookout, man. He finna have something about a cookout he was telling me about. You wasn't on at the time though. And he was talking to us about.
So I'm planning something February 25th, I believe, is what I scheduled it for. And it's still an episode of the DDT 14 podcast, but this particular episode is going to be called The Cookout. And, in honor of it being Black History Month. And you know how, like, amongst the Black community, we always kind of made this joke of, if they cool, they can come to the cookout. Uh-huh. So I was like, I'm going to invite multiple men and women that has some connection to the military, Black men and women, to this episode. And literally the theme is just going to be what happens when you put all of us in a room together. Joking around, clowning, just talking, whatever the case may be. But I was like, the kicker to it is that I give each of the guests an opportunity, if they so choose, an option to bring one person outside of the Black community into the cookout. And I was like, hey, if they weird, if they awkward, they liable to get their ass cooked. They liable to get roasted. I'll just let you know. But yeah. I thought that was going to be. I think that's going to be some very entertaining content. And you guys are more than welcome to come on if you want. I've already reached out to a good amount of people. A lot of people said they like that, love the idea, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be funny as hell.
Man, I got a couple people that I would bring.
Definitely, man.
I got a couple people I would bring to that. It's funny, that's my wife's birthday weekend, but I'll see. Hey, but I did want to talk about the whole be yourself thing, because I was watching one of your episodes, and it's funny, Damon. So I'm watching one of his episodes, and the person was introducing themselves. And you know how it is when you're doing something like a podcast, and people want to give you the best version, of themselves or whatever. So he's like, hey, what made you join? And the person was like, it was a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then, so they finished. And then he's like, all right, he got back on. He's like, all right, I'm going to put a little disclaimer out there. Just be yourself. You know what I'm saying? And whatever, and after he said it, the person was like, all right, then, well, look, I was fucking this. She was like, life was crazy. It was even jail or the military. It was whatever. I was like, okay, there we go. Like, now we got something going on here, man. So, but that was a good one, though. That was,
man.
I think you was talking to the LGBTQ community. It was about pride. But this is, for us, this is Valentine's Day. This will be our Valentine's Day episode as well. So, and I know you said you were a pessimist normally, but I do want to start with a love question, and that's what have you loved most in your career so far?
About the military?
Yep.
Ooh, I hate when you get a question where it's asking for only one answer, but it's kind of a tie between two things.
Give a million of them.
I'm going to say travel is definitely one. I'm not even gonna go into the negatives. I'm just gonna answer the question. I'm gonna say travel, and I'm going to say, I don't know what's the word for it. Maybe you guys can help me come up with the word. But so when you're in a small town, like I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, a lot of people from Memphis, unfortunately, don't leave Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah. So like everything about the way that they think, the way that they act, it's just Memphis. And that's for better or for worse. And being in the military detached me from that. I always felt detached anyway, but I was still kind of in the mix of it. But being in the military, like literally detached me from that environment. So it gave me the opportunity to grow mentally. I don't necessarily want to give the military itself the credit for how my mind has expanded throughout the years, but I do want to give it the credit for giving me the opportunity to have the space so I can more successfully do that. I don't really know what one word would sum that up, but that and travel. Those would be the two things I would say that I love that the military has given me.
Yeah, I kind of want to say acclimate. I kind of want to say that's a good word for it is acclimate, but I'm not sure. But it's like you're able to you were able to acclimate to something else or whatever like that. And I'm sure somebody listening got a way better word than I have. I think mine is travel. Right. One of mine is travel for like deployments. Man, we've been so many. How long you been in?
What is it? About to be 8, I think.
Okay, 8. So you've been in before COVID. So you've been on some deployments where you went some good places.
I got the shore duty at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Like, well, sort of. It was bittersweet because I'm glad I was on shore duty when COVID hit, but at the same time, I was stuck on a small island when COVID hit. And so I'm seeing
teleworking though. You were teleworking though, right?
No, believe it or not, they still had us coming in to work. Believe it or not.
I'm not surprised though, to tell you the truth. I wish I could say I was surprised. I'm not.
So mine is travel. Mine is travel for sure. And then mine is, it's probably close to yours again, but it's like the people you meet from multiple, places, and they can have a different, influence on you. I remember going back to Philly, like when I was young, like young sailor, like I remember going back to Philly and trying to get, I don't know if you ever did this, Damon, but I used to go back to Philly and try to get my Philly accent. You know what I mean? Like, yo, all right, let me get back to like this Philly accent. Philly got new slang. Like, no, I won't say that no more. I'm like, for real? Like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? So I got Meek playing like for like 2 days for it's time to go home. Like, I'm trying to get reacclimated back with like the Philly stuff. Then I used to come back off leave with like Philly slang. Philly, cause I was like 19, 20 when I first joined. So I come back off leave with like my new Philly slang, and everybody like, what you talking about, man? I'm like, man, that's how they talking Philly, man. Like, y'all ain't up on this, you know what I'm saying? But so for me, it was travel, but it was like meeting new people, being able to talk to people. And I think like the people part is what I still love, like, to this day. Like I love talking to new people. What about you, Damon?
Yeah, man, mine folds around the same way, man. It's about people. And I say this because the fact that I'm from Mississippi, right? And I tell this story to people, man, all the time. I say, in Mississippi was only black and white, man.
Which part, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from Gulfport. I went to school in Wayne County, but I'm from Gulfport.
Because I was raised in both Memphis, Tennessee, and Mississippi myself, but I was in northern Mississippi, like South Haven area. So,
okay, yeah. So it's only black and white, man. That's it. So I come in the Navy and I get on that plane, I get off in Great Lakes, man. It's like, whoa, what is going on right here, man? It was a culture shock for me. But my biggest thing, man, I want to leave, like you, man, I want to leave Mississippi, man. Right. So that was the biggest thing. Getting out of Mississippi, starting, my own journey type deal. And wherever it laid though, it didn't really matter, man. Like Mississippi still wasn't in the plans no more, man. Once I got out of there, if I would have did 4 years or whatever, I wasn't going back to Mississippi. You know what I mean? It just wasn't happening for me like that there, man. And I love going back and visit though. Trust and believe, man. I love going back, seeing the fam, seeing everybody. But when I hit that 5-day mark, man, it's about time to go.
I got a love-hate relationship with going back. Can't even lie. There go that pessimist. I told you I was gonna slip out. It's gonna slip out.
But you know what? Going back though, man, don't it just last just a little bit though, man? Like at first, first couple days, you like
the first couple days, you feel like you done returned from Neverland or something. You feel good. Yeah, you feel good.
Yeah.
It's just for me, like after like a few days pass by. I guess they say 3-day-old fish stinks. Like after about 3 days, like you be like, all right, bro, y'all still doing the same shit. they built the Zaxby's. Congratulations.
Same thing going on, man. Same places, same everything. Talk the same, everything the same, man. But I love seeing those guys though, man. I love, hanging out with them for a little while, as long as I can. And they got their own lives and their own jobs and their own things too. So you don't get to spend that much time with them anyway. But I used to be a big fan of that, man. Then also taking care of my own family too, though, man. I like the way, the ability. I have the ability to take care of them and have them do things that I didn't get to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? I couldn't do, or like I was telling, I tell my son all the time, man, like he got I have he personal getting one-on-one basketball training. He personally getting one-on-one football training. Man, I ain't had nothing like that, man. You know what I mean? Like nothing like that. So it's things he can do that I couldn't do and things like, so I love to have the ability to do things like that. So that makes it cool too.
And if I, currently working on it, but if I had kids at the moment, I'm pretty sure I would probably be thinking in the same line as you. Like, I know it's going to sound kind of crazy, but it's like when I hear someone is from Mississippi, I automatically think in the back of my head, they had probably a similar upbringing that I did. I don't know why I think that.
Oh yeah.
I don't think, they probably was living lavish. Like, I think they probably had somewhat of a humbling life experience.
Yeah. Most definitely, man. I most definitely got one. That's gonna be another one of the podcasts. But trust me, I got a humbling upbringing, which is I kind of mention it. I don't like to go too deep in it, man. But it's crazy though, man. Crazy. But it made me who I am today, though.
Most definitely.
You know what I mean? It made me like, don't take shit for granted. Nothing no one doing I don't take for granted, man. I'm always paying attention to shit too. I would tell people I'm always paying attention to stuff, man. And I think coming from Mississippi, always keep your head on swivel, always looking around, always like paying attention to stuff that's going on, man. So that's one of the things that helped me also. So yeah, man. So that's my kind of like story when it comes to the love of your career and job and military and things like that. So we got you, man. You from Memphis, right? You've been in 8 years. So what is one of the biggest challenges, you know what I mean, you done had since you've been in for 8 years? What is one of those biggest things you made, or something that you have done that you want to go back and say, man, I might have did this differently? What is one of those things?
If I had to say off the top of my head, I would probably say, I don't want to say mental health because that makes it sound too extreme, but fuck it. Mental. I'm gonna say mental health because I'm gonna be honest. I don't like to do the woe is me story. I like to I'm the type of person I like to overcome. But I've faced a lot of challenges and many of them being straight up just unfair since I've been in the military, and having to keep a strong mental has been the most challenging thing for me. Because my life before the military was extremely hard on my mental. And not to make this a therapy session, but I've been through some, I've been through some shit. And then the military, some of the challenges I faced in the military is just, I already had a lot of things mentally I never really dealt with. And I, jumped into the military, and now the military is throwing all types of nonsense. And I had to learn how to deal with it. And to this day, I'm still learning how to deal with it. Again, it's what helped me motivate this channel that I have right now. I want to help people avoid as many of the difficulties that I have and still am facing being in the military. So to answer your question, my mental, that's been one of the most challenging things, keeping that in order.
Let me tell you something about mental when it comes to when I came in, man. Like I came in 98, right? And I remember, man, today's Navy and back in 98, man, it didn't matter. You can come to work, say whatever, no one gave a fuck, right? And I think now why it's so good on what happening now in the military when it comes to mentals is that no one is taking it for granted, right? People are losing their jobs for taking shit for granted, right? So I think that's the best thing about it, man. People, we're like me, I am an advocate. I'm going to get you some help. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You mentioned something to me one time, that's all you got to do. Let's go, man. We're going to get some help. We're going to do this. Back then when I came in, man, it was not like that, man. Like people, they didn't care, man. I don't think they cared about getting shit done, job, whatever. They go home and you deal with whatever you have to deal with. But now it didn't change a lot, man. And it changed for the good, too.
I hear that all the time. You know, a lot of people say, what is it, Old Navy or, you know, or just simple back in my day. And I'm not gonna lie, I wish I could get a time machine and just kind of see so I can compare and contrast the differences between then and now. I guess if I stay in long enough, though, I can see,
Oh, it's gonna change.
Right.
Most definitely.
I can start talking shit to the new junior sailors that come in.
Yeah, and
I mean, definitely gonna see it, man. But it's gonna be fun too, though, man. It's gonna be fun.
Even if it ain't in the lines of talking shit, it's like so many things you visualize that's way different than like something you was used to. You know what I mean? Like a stressor. I remember somebody was like, "Yo, I did not know that we was getting underway like this." And I'm like, "Well, you know, you on the ship." You know what I mean? And that was what I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? And then she was like, "Yeah, but I ain't know we was about to be getting underway." You know what I mean? And I'm like, "Damn!" Like, you know, and that was different because when I came in, it was like I'm having some weird internet issues too, but hopefully we get all this done. But when I came in, it was like whatever they tell me to do, I have to do. It's nothing else like going on, right? And I remember I was so like, yo, dude, I was so green when I came in. It was this thought, right? I'm gonna be, and this honest, like people think I'm joking. I think I said this on a podcast before, but we used to do the toxic gas drill, right? And I had this thought that, you know, because I was like, well, how do we test the environment in a toxic gas kind of, you know, scenario? How do we know we're out of the toxic gas, environment? And somebody was like, we send somebody out. You know, there's like, we send somebody out to test the atmosphere or whatever. And I'm like, well, who would you send? And they like, well, we would send like the worst person on the ship. You know, we would send like the biggest shit bag out. You know, so I'm like, yo, I could never be the biggest shit bag, you know, because I never want to be the person that tests like the toxic gas. So I was like more like, you know, whatever you want me to do, I'm doing it. So like a lot of those questions and stuff. So, and I see the difference. Like I see a big difference between like now and like then. Like it was times like, for instance, like my departmental like LCPO. If my departmental LCPO called me at any time, you know what I'm saying? If Top Snipe had called my phone, that meant that it's important. Like Top Snipe called my phone. Like, yo, I have to answer this phone. You know, nowadays, a seller, you could hit a seller, you know, and they was like, you know, I was eating dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't pick up. You know, I couldn't pick up. I was eating dinner. And, you know, if you go too hard, that might be like, you know, if you go too hard, you might hear something from somebody like, well, you was invading this person's privacy or something like that. And now that hasn't happened to me yet where somebody came back, you know, but you got like, it's different. It is different. It's way different. And I joined in 07, man. I've been in since 07, but it's totally different than, you know, what it was like when I joined. You know, I'm not saying it's better and I'm not saying it's worse. It's different. But like Damon said, it's better when it comes to like understanding like mental health and like sensitivity on certain things that's not like like we did a sexual assault training. Like, and I said, and I think I talked about this, but I'm not gonna go too deep on it. But we didn't do the best training we could do for sexual assault. Like we didn't. We did skits, right? And what we wanted to do with the skits was like make light of, and this was a long time ago, but we wanted to like make people remember the skits. So some of them were like funnier than they probably should have been for the topic, right? And then
I'm
listening to you.
That just made me think of something. What you said, the skits that you did, not to self-promote, but I did a video reaction. I believe it was to fraternization on my channel. And I actually kind of made that point that you had just made because I was reacting to a skit that the Navy had made. And it was like supposed to be talking about sexual harassment, but they were kind of making light of it or making a joke about it.
Yeah.
You know, and then in the very next scene, they have a woman looking all serious in the scene like, sexual harassment can be classified as, and then in the next scene, they're making
jokes again.
They're making light of it again.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I pointed that out in the reaction. I'm like, that's weird how they're doing that. Like, if it's a serious thing, like let's push the jokes back for a second and like highlight how serious this is.
Yeah, because it's a mission. The mission was for people to learn, not for people to laugh. And the craziest thing happened is like 2 days after our training, right? And this hurts, it hurts. But 2 days after our training, we had a rape on a ship, and it was somebody I really had like genuine love for and care for. And like, I don't blame us because it was a training or whatever, but I always felt weird about that. Like, damn, like we did this weird training, and then literally 2 days after, it was a real live rape where it's people in jail and like people's lives would never be the same again type stuff. So that was crazy to me.
Damn.
That was, but hey, so to lighten to lighten the topic back up real quick, to lighten to push back.
I'm almost depressed. Damn.
Yeah. To push to push back for 1 second, right? Because like I said, this is the Valentine's Day episode. Were you married? How old were you when you joined? If I could ask that question, BG.
21.
Okay, so you was older than 18, right? So you was like more of an adult than a 17, 18-year-old. So were you already married?
I did get married before like my official first day of the military. I got married in the sort of like during the MEPS process. So but yeah, that's around the time I got married.
Okay, so you was pretty much married the whole time you was in the military. So this is a question for Damon. I know Damon gonna try to duck this one, man. Damon, try to duck this question, man. I already know it's coming.
Probably.
Hey, so love life, and so my question is about love life in the military, right? And you probably got some friends who been through this stuff, BG. But hey, Damon, like before you met Ella and everything like that, was it hard to find like a relationship that you could really kind of like take serious?
So, I don't know. Not really, man. So I was married before too, man. Yeah. So when I joined, I married at 18, right? So I got married, I got divorced at 20, right? And then being on ships and going places like that, man, I wasn't even trying to be in no relationships though. You know what I mean? It just wasn't, I wasn't even trying. It wasn't even a thought process until I met my wife now. So, to answer that question, I'm gonna say if I wanted to be in one, it probably would have been easy. But I also had this thing too where I didn't want to. My whole mindset of coming in that I didn't want to be with a military woman either, though. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to be with a military woman. Now you put men and women together. I don't care what it is. Eventually, something could happen. You put men and women in the same spot for a length of time, and we talking and we bullshit and shit gonna happen. But at that same time, though, you ain't finna be my girlfriend, though. Okay. You know what I mean? So I'll just be real with you.
I give you a sock from time to time, but
so sock on the sock in the window, man.
The sock in the window idea is what stopped me from like feeling like I could take relationships serious for a long time. It was the sock in the window thought, and that was pretty much because I saw people like when I first got my first division, man, the first story of like love I got was like a friend of mine. He said he got cheated on, like coming off his first deployment or whatever, like that. And then like somebody I really looked up to that listens to the podcast, got cheated on the deployment we were on. And I don't know if I ever told this story, and I'm not going to tell too much of it, but I didn't trust sending like things to the ship, right? I ain't trust sending like anything to the ship because I'm brand new to the Navy. I thought it was weird. Like, yo, when is this stuff gonna get to the ship? So I ordered a camera to take pictures like during deployment, and I sent it to his house. Like he's like, yo, just send it to the crib, and yeah, like so I'm kind of like, because I don't know if he could laugh at this story now. This is my boy. Like I love him. He's gonna probably call me after this story, but I don't know if he could laugh at this story or not. But to me, in hindsight, it's a funny damn story. But what happened was the whole deployment, I'm like, yo, like, what's going on? Like, where the camera at, man? You know what I mean? And he's like, yo, it's at the crib. She gonna send it. And the craziest part about this was I didn't trust sending it to the ship. Now I'm like, sent it somewhere that I trusted to send it to, and I still wasn't getting it. Meanwhile, I'm watching like a lot of sellers get like Xboxes, PlayStations, like all types of stuff. I'm like, man, I should have just, and from that point on, I was sending everything to the ship, and now I'm getting it. This time I was like a movie like fold, like cinema, like foul, man. Like I was getting movies and movies and movies. This when Amazon first started really like popping. And I remember, man, one day he finally came up to me and she had moved out. She moved out the crib and she took the dog. I think it was crazy. So I'm like, man, like, and the whole time, I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna get my camera. I'm like, I'm like, yo, I'm like,
30 megapixels,
yeah,
man.
I'm like,
shit.
yo, I'm not, this back in the day. So this is like a real trash trip. But I'm like, damn, like, I really wanted that for deployment. Now, and he get like, hey, I know he gonna hit me up. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I got the camera till after the deployment was over. You know what I mean? But all jokes aside with the story after that, like, he found like a real love and stuff like that. She was mill too, which like you just talked about, Damon. She was mill too. But like socket and window, damn near the same day that we got underway type stuff, man. So those two scenarios with people that I really, really love, who both have found great love, they kind of scarred me, because these like just like people that I work with every day, my division. So they kind of scarred me and like, man, like, yo, I can't really trust like a woman if I go out on deployment. Like this ain't, we both need to make an agreement. And then I was going out on deployment and I don't think a woman should have been able to trust me, in those days.
Did you hear about the situation that happened in Washington State with the man and his wife?
Nah.
The sailor and his wife, actually.
Do tell.
There was actually this is when I was in Washington State. Ironically, I worked with one of the guys who was friends with this person, but there was a sailor that apparently got back from the deployment. His wife was pregnant, and I guess he found out through his neighbor somehow, but apparently that baby was not his. And he snapped, the sailor snapped, and unfortunately he, I guess, found the first knife that he saw, and he killed his wife, multiple stabs, and then he killed himself immediately afterwards. And obviously, the baby passed away too because it was still inside. It was still inside the mother. And when that happened, it was actually kind of fucked up when it happened, because I found out the news by watching it on the TV at a Chinese restaurant. And when they was coming up to me to give me my plate, it just says Navy sailor, and then I'm in my uniform while eating, and they looking at me like I did it. But that event really made me start to hone in on relationships in the military. Like, obviously I'm still married myself, but it just it spiraled me into this journey of just thinking, is relationships in the military a good idea, especially if you're dating military on military?
Yeah.
It's a big deal too, man. It most definitely some dedication to it, man. You got to most definitely be locked in and have some relationship goals and all type of stuff, man, when it comes to that stuff, man, because automatically one thing the Navy set up, man, is the fact of one going to be on shore duty and one going to be at sea. You know what I mean? So that's automatically right there. Some time is lost right there. You know what I mean? Automatically. You know what I mean? You go on deployments, you always at work or whatever the case may be. So I think that situation by itself is hard.
It's funny.
Now you start.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Even though I did it, I genuinely would not recommend marrying young in the military. Even though I did it, and we've been successfully married now since 2013. So what's that? Roughly around 9 years.
Good stuff,
I still wouldn't recommend it. That's not. I still would not recommend it, because there's so many challenges that you face that honestly I don't think the average 21-year-old male is ready for, nor should they be ready for. Like legitimately, I think if I was to recommend it, like a relationship in the military to someone, I would say do it after you've after you've made chief or senior chief, and then after you've got a little age and wisdom under your belt, and then go ahead, find you a significant other, start your lineage, so that the next generation can continue your greatness. But at 21, I think that's grind. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that's grind time. I wouldn't recommend early marriage. To each his own. I just wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. When it comes to it, man, and trust me, if anybody want to come on the pod and talk about that, man, I got married early too. 18, I was divorced by 20. Not only was I divorced by 20, we wasn't together after probably a year.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? Of being married, of their relationship. So a lot of stuff went on, a lot of stuff happening, but I'm not gonna get into all this stuff on this podcast
your
anyway. But
ex-wife watching on the other end, yeah, motherfucker, you better not say shit. Come through.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hit the dislike button.
That's crazy, man. Because you know what's the crazy thing about it, right? And everybody, why he don't want to talk? We talk about every fucking thing on this podcast. Permission to speak freely. But you know why? And I'm not saying I'm never going to talk about it. I might already talked about it a little bit. But the biggest thing is, though, growing up in Mississippi, everybody know each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So not only if I started talking about this stuff and going in on it, like my brother is like married to her cousin. You know what I mean? Like it's like a lot of people like in relationships and family relationships and all that type of stuff. So you try to stay away from it a little bit, but it's coming though.
Do you think?
Right now it's coming.
Because my wife is from Mississippi. She said something to me a couple of days ago, and then I'm gonna get off of this. She said she thinks that people in the South, Mississippi in particular, takes relationships more serious than anybody else around the country does. Do you think there's some truth to that? You think so?
I most definitely think some truth to it.
Southern charm, man.
Yeah, I mean, and then look, if you wouldn't have just said that, I probably wouldn't say anything about it. But I most definitely think, man, that's how it is in Mississippi a little bit. When people get relationship, man, they be in relationship 30 years, 40 years. You know what I mean? I don't know what else they be doing, but they be in relationships.
I think that's why. You say I don't know what else they be doing because there ain't nothing else to do.
Yeah. That's true.
That's probably why.
That's true. And not only relationships, man, like big families too, man, in Mississippi, man. You got people like 11, 12 kids, man, and stuff like that, man. Big families. Also.
Yeah, so I do want to kind of go back to that one point you was talking about though, about waiting for a while to get married, right? I kind of followed that blueprint, right? I followed that blueprint. I was first class. Me and my wife was like, I forgot where I was, but I was a first class, like kind of like opening up the doorway to chief. When I got married. And that was my thought for like kids and everything. Cause again, as I'm like walking around, like you said earlier, you said, yo, I pay attention to a lot of stuff. Right. And that's what I was doing. I was seeing like friends of mine, like 24. And like, for instance, like for their deployment, like half of it was on an email talking to their wife. Right. So like if they wasn't working, they got to talk to their wife or talk about like the kids or it's an issue, right? So I saw dudes going through issues. So now you back emailing your wife back and forth. Now your mind frame is like kind of caught up in your relationship, right? So then they like kind of like, I remember watching this dude, like he was going through like a divorce on deployment, right? And all this was happening like my first deployment. And I'm like, yo, it's crazy, dude, because you don't even have time to like work on your marriage. It's not like you could go and like give her flowers or go and give her chocolate. Like, you have no actions that you could really do. And this, like I said, Amazon was just kind of coming up. I'm like, you got no actions that you could really do that's going to help out with this, relationship, man. Amazon and some flowers while your relationship is on the brink of like being over is not probably the move that's going to like win her heart back. And he had like 2 kids. So I'm like, man, again, this is another reason why I just waited. And like, but while all of these dudes was, struggling with like trying to like save their marriages or keep up with like things going on. You got to read an email from your wife. It's like 6 paragraphs long, real long. Your response probably like 2 sentences.
You getting it, 6 paragraphs, man. You getting it right now.
Your response, like
you
I remember
that.
like people, and it go either way. It's not like gender specific, but I remember seeing dudes like having to tell their wives like how to set up something electronic. Like, yeah, you got to do this, that, like specific. And you know what I was doing while all that was happening? Studying, working on quals, getting like my weight up, like working on ESWAS, working on this, working on that, and improving myself. So it's like all of the time that I'm watching everybody else kind of have to deal with real life things like kids and family. I didn't have any of that. All I had was like the Navy and I could study and so it's like I just like automatically, naturally had more time. And I think that's a thing when it comes to a lot of junior sellers because, and Damon can attest to this too. But one of the biggest things that people start struggling with, like, is their family. Like that's one of the biggest kind of like, you get a seller that might be doing good, might be getting a lot done. Then they like, yo, senior, I just got married. I plan on getting married next week. And then like sometimes, a lot of times, performance changes. Like because they gotta, it's things happening, it's pulls, it's a lot of stuff, man. So I remember leaving my job because my wife, she was my girl, but I remember leaving the job because she was locked out her apartment. I drove from Maryland to Philly because I had the extra key. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of stuff that love does. It's not a bad thing, but it does, it does have a strain on your like performance and your mental health or whatever. I don't know if Damon got anything.
And see, I would make the argument that if you were like, if you were wearing khakis, I think you can comfortably retire once you've hit that threshold. Let's just say you're a chief, senior chief, maybe even a master chief. I would imagine you would have more time to multitask and try to juggle professional and your personal life because, you're already basically peaked at your career, unless you had plans to go on warrant officer or something. You've already basically peaked at your career. You're basically just on autopilot mode at this point. So you got more leeway to actually write six paragraph pages and shit.
Yeah, and it depend on it depend on your ambition, right? So when you 1 year in the Navy, you got 19 years you thinking about. When you 3 years, you got 17 years. But when you 15 years in, you got 5 years you thinking about, right? But that 5 years could be like, in these 5 years, I want to be a force or a fleet or something like that. And if you got that going on, then you might not have like the easier path because you still grinding like super duper hard. But I mean, sometimes that door is closed. You know what I mean? For some people, that door is like, all right, I'm here. I got 3 more years left. I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to lead the division of sailors to the best way that I can. But I'm not being ambitious for like anything else. But it's like, and then you did it all already. So that's like, not to get repetitive, but you did it all already. Damon, you got it?
Yeah, man, I turn that same thing. I turn that same thing, the way of thinking, and put it on the junior sailors, man, and make them, like, from a leadership standpoint, I'm always asking about family. I know what family do to people, right? I know how they react to it. So if somebody say, about to get married, man, what you need? You need some days off, put the leave shit in. You know what I mean? If you have some issues, what you need? You know what I mean? So I turn that same thing around. Now they know, oh man, this freaking senior chief care about my family. You know what I mean? He care about this stuff. And then when they come to work, they're in a good mind state to do what they need to do at work. So you have to be, because experience got me there, right? Because I did it, came up. I witnessed, like you said, Damo, we witnessed people go through some stuff with their family. So we don't want my sailor going through that. So I'm going to use this and be like, hey, what you need to do, man? You know what I mean? How can I help? Or whatever.
You know what's funny? Oh, sorry.
No, all I was going to ask him was, did he ever tell somebody not to get married? I could ask you the same thing. BG.
No, I never tell nobody not to get married.
Did you ever see somebody
marriage to the right person is a beautiful thing?
Did you ever see?
I said the right person.
I never in person ever told no one not to get married. But what I would do, I would ask them questions.
Yeah.
To kind of challenge. Are you sure you want to do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever see somebody?
I was always passive aggressive with it.
Did you ever see somebody in your head be like, yo, they should not get married right now?
Oh, most definitely.
Oh,
and then like a week later, there was socks all around the ship.
It's like you can't say it because you know they're not gonna listen to you, right? It's like, all right, I can't tell you, especially like as a chief. It's worse like as a chief, man, because it's like people look at the things we say different. Like when you make like chief or whatever, you're not just a normal person telling them like anything anymore. Now you like this chief trying to tell them how to live their life, right? Like if I was like an E5 too, I'd be like, yo, dude, like she ain't the right, she ain't the right girl. But as a chief, I can't.
You know what I look at relationship advice, like especially in the military. I look at it more. Some people look at it like a preventative. I look at it like the aftermath, because almost you could give the best relationship advice in the world, but when it comes down to two people, feeling a certain type of way, it's almost always feelings before logic. You got to kind of give people the logic ahead of time, not so that they won't do the very thing that you're trying to warn them about, but so that after they do it, they have something to fall back on. Like, damn, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Hey, at least I actually know what to do next time. I did this knowing not to do it, but hey, I was a dumbass.
Yeah.
Next time, I have absolutely no excuse. You know what I mean?
I find myself.
It's not a preventative.
Hey, I don't do it, man. I don't even deal with relationship stuff like that, man. I feel like they're gonna do what they want to do anyway. Right, I'm just making them do it. If I give them some advice and tell them not to do something, I'm just pretty much telling them to do it.
You know. Well, my biggest question is why do people have boat? Okay, so be married couples. They go out to sea. They have a boat boo, whatever. You see it, but something I can't wrap around my head. And I've seen this multiple times. Why do people have boat boos out to sea and they actually take the boat boo serious? Like they actually try to get super intimate. And I'm like, you're going to go back to your wife and kids or husband and kids when you pull back in. I don't understand I understand scratching a physical itch. I get that, but I don't understand these motherfuckers be cooped, every time it's a Liberty call, they, what I'm saying? Walking it, cuddly and shit together. I don't understand why you're putting that much investment into something that is going to be short term. But you can't tell shit.
Hey, I just want to make sure it's clear that I have never seen a boat boo on board a ship. Nothing like that. I just want to make.
What you talking about?
Go ahead, Damo. Go ahead, do your thing, Damo.
About? You ain't never seen a boat boo. You never had a boat boo, or you never saw a boat boo. What you talking about, man?
I never seen. Hey, look. I never seen a boat boo on board the ship, man. You know what I mean? I never seen them having it. I never seen them have their relationship, you know what I mean, married and all that, then have a boat boo on board. Because I would have done something about that.
Oh, that's what you're saying. You saying if you saw somebody cheating, you would have went and reported it. That's what you're saying.
Hey.
Okay. All right. Well.
And then we supposed to do, guys? And then we supposed to do?
About in the mess? You ain't been in a mess forever. Now you supposed to do it. How long we gotta stay on this? What you bring this up?
Speaking of CSs have the biggest giveaway when they got a boat boo because they always giving them extra food.
Yeah.
You ever want to see who got a boat boo? Look at their tray. Look at the tray.
Hey, peach cobbler.
Hey, and then how about when they go in the galley? I mean, why they in the galley right now, man? Getting extra food in the galley, man. Get out of there, man.
I saw too much stuff on the ship. I remember people used to see ice creams on ice cream socials. Sometimes I just be looking at the ice cream if only y'all knew what happened on top of them them
quarter pints. I like that boat boo stuff, man. I think it's love, man. I think people get so caught in the moment, and they actually it take 8 days to fall in love, I think, man. And I'm not I'm not what's the dude name that do the love language? Gary Chapman or whatever. I'm not Gary Chapman, right? But I would say that it takes 8 days to finalize love. You know what I mean? That's how long it take to get love finalized.
I think that's people's way of coping with whatever they're not satisfied with in their life. Because deployment is mentally challenging. Being away from all the people that you know and love, and then whatever type of issues, mental issues that you never really got checked out. I think people use other people as a way to cope with it. And I think they trick themselves into thinking that they're being in love because let's just say their significant other was their foundation while they're in port. They go out to sea, they don't have that foundation no more. So they try to get a new foundation and they think that's going to last because it feels so good. Feels so good. And then you pull back in, you're like, oh shit, I have a foundation back at home. Deuces. Yeah. Hope you and your man.
You know what though, man?
The love is tricky.
You know what's crazy though? Is I cannot see. This is what I can't see, man. I can't see how I could cope with the fact that when we got back, like you saying, take it so long and get back and all that stuff. Man, I'm telling you, I know how relationships work. You can't just freaking cut this shit off. It can't just be okay, hey, we got 2 weeks. 2 weeks left, man. Holla at you. Hey, it's over with. It's done. That shit don't work like that, man. Somebody, you could the guy. Sometimes he want to be the hardcore motherfucker. Oh yeah, I'm done with her. All this type of stuff. But I'm here to tell you, man, she may not be done with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She might be right on that pier, you right on that pier with you.
That's probably.
And go ahead.
That's probably how that incident at the Roosevelt happened at the Roosevelt Christmas party.
The Ike? What's that? That was the Ike, right?
Was it the
I thought it was the Ike.
That was the Ike. I thought
it was the Ike. No, that was the Ike.
It was the Ike. It might have been Ike. It might have been Ike.
My boy was there.
I don't think it was a Christmas party either, was it?
It was a Christmas party for sure.
Was it Chris? It was a Christmas
party.
Holiday
party. Well, holiday party. It was a holiday party. My boy was there. He was like sending me messages real time. I wish we was doing a pod back then. Like I was getting like real time updates on what was going on. He's like, oh, now she coming out.
It's just in.
Yeah, it was funny, man.
That was crazy. That was crazy too, man.
That was one for the books. Because anybody military knew exactly what was going on. Like, you know, people from the outside in looking in, what's going on with the military? What's happening? That must have been somebody must have said something about someone's mother. What's going on? Like, but you knew if he was in the military, you had a good general idea.
Yeah. I think after you hit the pier, man, some people try to keep it going too. You know, some people do try to keep them things going, but they get caught up, and it's not always married. They got girlfriends or whatever, but they kind of realize now you got to hide and now you got to duck. And now it's like this weird thing and you doing things after hours and you saying you got duty and you in 2 duty days a week now and, you know, stuff like that. So it's harder to keep up with that type of thing. So, but it is hard to cut off and it's hard to keep up with it. You know, I don't know how people do it. I had friends who got caught up in situations before and life was rough, like for them. Like, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
And then who wants to do like really like I know people go out there and they do things like that, man. But I look at it, but I'm older now too, man. I'm like man, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Trying to make these new stories up, make these new lies up, and make out. It's too much, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's like a whole nother life you trying to live. It's just too much. I
think the Navy
man.
needs to support poly relationships. You can knock a lot of this out. You can knock a lot of it out. But the moment the Navy finds out you talking to more than one person, hell no, that's your ass.
Yeah, I used to hear stories about like, you know, back when I was a junior cell, I used to hear stories about like people getting called into like the CMC's office to call their wives or husbands or, you know, their spouses to be like, yo, I cheated. That's a hard phone call to make, man.
Yeah,
that's a hard. You might as well put.
I think they got to kick. I think they have to kick me off the ship, man. They're going to kick me off that thing, man.
Hey,
man, it ain't happening. Like, do what? Do what?
Yeah.
But here's my thing though. How do they know that that's your city? Because couldn't you just prepare for it? Be like, all right, like you just get a homegirl or something. Be like, all right, if you ever get a call, your name is Denise Reed. All right, your name is Denicia Reed. All right. All right, and I want you to cry. And when they tell you the news, I need you to cry. You cry good, I give you $25. You cry real good, I give you $50.
The issue is a lot of people
they actually believe this shit, I'll give you $100.
A lot of people don't think it through.
I'm a email first and tell them, baby, they telling a lot of lies about me. I just want you to know ahead of time. They lying on me, girl. I know you believe me. They lying on me.
The crazy thing is, when
I'll be honest with you though, I think that's, you know what? I think that's messy, but the only reason the military does it is because they give you a little bit more money when you got dependents on your BH. I really do believe that's the only reason the military gets that messy. Because why you over here putting the nail in the coffin on people's marriage?
Yeah.
You know,
like, hey.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're right, man. That's really messy though. When you think back on it though, we had these conversations all the time, man. When we think back on some of the shit they used to do back in the day, man, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
You know what I mean? But
I have a
we got
code,
your wife on.
You know,
we got your wife on.
Like even me, a lot of people will disagree with this. A lot of people disagree with my notion on this. But like, say for example, right, if my brother or my partner or whatnot, I know that his wife is cheating, I have a code to where if you're married, I'm completely out of it. I'm not saying nothing. Yeah, now, if that's your girlfriend or your boo thing, I might give you a heads up. But when that's your wife or your husband, I'm not saying nothing. I could have just walked in on her with 12 different socks. I'm not saying a goddamn thing. Like, because that's your business. I'm not playing, but I'm not buying no shares of the reason that this union that you guys got failed.
Yeah,
I don't want no shares in that.
Because you know what though, man. Like speaking on that, right? The real talk about the whole thing, man, is that it always comes back on you.
Mm-hmm.
If you go around and you open your damn mouth and you talking about this and that, some kind of way it's gonna end up coming back on you, and then somebody gonna try to confront you, and that way, there you go.
Now they making love. They have makeup sex, and they we gonna overcome the haters, and you the hater for telling for telling him that she was sucking socks around here. You know what I mean? Like,
and then
you the hater.
Then you cut off.
Right.
You
maybe
done.
we can overcome anything, and you the anything. Ain't that about it?
You done. You ain't at the Super Bowl. Hey, bro. You know. I asked you to come to the Super Bowl party, but nah, man.
My girl,
she ain't comfortable.
You can't come no more, man.
You know, he'll tell you she ain't comfortable with you coming. You know, after you ran your mouth. He's like, yo, that's the same girl that cheated. Yeah. She. We working it out, man. We working it out, bro.
We working it out. We doing.
Hey, on the way out the door, you gonna tell you, you thought you was going to the Super Bowl party too, huh?
Yeah, it ain't happening. ABG, I got a question for you, man. You ever got burned? Like, I want to get into some of this because I think it's sometimes I think it's a perception or even a true divide sometimes between like the Chiefs and like Junior Suns, right? And I think I've seen it grow like recent. And you ever feel like you've been burned by like a Chief?
Ooh, how many, man? Shit, hell, I got burned on my way to Key West. In my opinion,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna necessarily name drop, but when I got to Key West, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I got to Key West, I lost complete motivation and studying and work ethic, all that good stuff. Because my last ship was hell. I still have PTSD from that shit. But when it came down to evals, right there, I was about to transfer, whatever the case may be, but I was told, hey, I think this is bullshit, but I was told, hey, because you're transferring on this date, you're going to get a regular evaluation and not a transfer evaluation. Because, normally when you get a transfer eval, if you're the only person that's leaving on that day, it's damn near guaranteed EP. Like, you're only competing against yourself. My chain of command decided to, and I'm thinking, okay, anybody that would have gave me legit competition just made rank off this last test. I'm like, there's only one other third class that I know that has more qualifications or time and rate. I'm second up, so I know the EP is all but guaranteed. They did not give me the EP. They gave me an MP and tried to sugarcoat it and say, oh, it's because you haven't been a third class long enough. You gotta get your feet wet. And little did they know that I knew who did get the EPs. And one of the girls that got the EP, she came up to me. She apologized. Reed, I'm so sorry. Like without even me saying anything, like she just started apologizing because she knew that I deserved it. And quite honestly, she knew that she didn't deserve it. But I was like, it's whatever. But I know that there was unduly relationships between her and some of the chain of command. So I know this. I know.
You said
I know the game, but
some of the chain of command or someone from some
of.
Okay, so multiple.
So, but hear no evil, speak no evil. And quite frankly, I'm not even too mad at you for using certain things to your benefit. Hell, if I had it, I'd probably do it too. But I tell people all the time, being a black male in the military, don't nobody want to stick nothing in me. So I can't use that privilege. So.
It's rough, man. That might be it for us, man. Hey, hey, this was permission to speak freely.
So when I got to Key West, I came with an MP, and it pissed me off because if I looked at the score on the test, if I would have made it, if I would have got the EP that I knew I earned, I knew I deserved, I would have made rank, like literally as I got to Key West. And it pissed me off even more because one of the same girls that they gave it to, she got kicked out like a couple months later for drugs or whatever the case may be. And I knew that they felt shitty about it because even as I was gone, they was randomly texting me, hitting me up. And they never gave a fuck how I was doing about anything. I knew that their conscience was eating at them. And that's when I just kind of realized that politics plays a huge part. Not only in the military, but it can also play a huge part in your advancement in the military. Because a big part of your advancement, either way, whether you're getting a map package or whether you're getting evaluated, either way, your perception to your chain of command plays a huge part in your career. Because if you're getting mapped, you know what I mean? It's still it's still them, whether you make a map package yourself or whether they make it, it's still a big part of that plays on how they view you. What your evaluation is literally how your chain of command views you. And I didn't have the best viewership from my chain of command, a lot of my chiefs specifically. So that was probably one of the many, but one of the most significant quote unquote burns I feel like I got. And to this day, I'm not gonna lie, this shit still bothers me.
Wait, well, let me say this about it though, man. Like, if you leaving the ship, you done your time on board, and you leaving the ship with an MP, that says a lot, right? It says a lot from how they really perceive you. Ain't no need of talking to me. Ain't no need of doing any of that stuff. You're leaving the boat, man. So I think by itself, if you leave the boat without an EP, a transfer EP, and you're right, it's some circumstances that things can happen to make you like maybe get an MP or whatever. But most of the time, if you did your job and they feel like you did this and you did that and your stuff ducks in a row and all that type of stuff, you should have transferred with an EP.
Yeah, I
right?
thought the same
Because that person on the ship probably got more time. I don't know how many EP. I don't know your story either, though. I'm just, I'm just talking generally. If you did the things you need to do, you should have transferred with that. And that's just my opinion about it. Also, not saying your story and how it went, but just you do your time, you do your job, you transfer after doing 3-4 years. Only you transfer into a new command. I feel like if I didn't know you, didn't know anything and nothing, I said, man, he got an MP. I'm like, man, why you get first? My face will frown up. If I look at your eval and I see an MP on transfer eval, you leave that command, I'd be like, oh,
so that's
shit,
the thing. It wasn't a I really feel like they played me because they said it wasn't a transfer eval because of when I was leaving. So it's a regular evaluation. So I'm getting evaluated against all of the other thirds. And they made me sign a letter of extension. But, before I actually saw my evaluation, I'm thinking, well, shit, I got this in the bag. There's only literally one person I can think that looks better than me on paper. And there's more than one EP to fucking go around. But,
So you was thinking it didn't matter. It didn't matter to me anyway. I know I got this. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm the only.
But yeah, I'm assuming you left during that evaluation period. Then that evaluation period, you probably left during that time frame.
I'm thinking the way it sounded like the evals came out and then you left within 90 days after.
Yeah,
right. Somewhere within 90 days after the evals came out,
or within that 90 days.
Sometime in the summertime. I can't remember what month it was.
Probably where they was like, all right, we just gonna do a letter of extension instead of doing a 1-on-1 eval. So they ranked you and then pulled.
That letter of extension should have been an EP letter of extension. That shit pissed me off. Like I remember even my wife, like she tried to do things to make me feel better because she could tell my spirits was just down because I just thought like, what's the point of literally giving it your all? Like, you know what I mean? Giving it everything that you got all throughout all the hardships. And then you don't get what you know that, it's one thing to say that I deserve something, but you don't really put the work in. It's another thing to put the work in and you still don't get it. It's very discouraging. But I am aware that that's not going to be everybody's experience in the Navy. A lot of people, when things happen to them, they see life with a fisheye lens. But I think I am able to know that that's not the case. Probably not even the normal case for most people. But I'm also aware that this is something that can happen. So it makes me conscious of when I decide I want to make content to give people a heads up, like how to avoid things like this.
So damn, I got like two thoughts, man. My first thought is about the frat stuff that you was talking about. Is that normal? And your viewpoint, is that normal for like a junior sailor might be in a unduly familiar relationship with like khaki or something?
I would say it's,
and it's based off your viewpoint.
Honestly,
of course, this ain't the scope of the Navy, but this from things you've seen.
From what I've seen, I would say that's very, very common. Hell, we even and I couldn't stand this guy. I think cranking, when you go cranking on the ship.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a senior chief. I couldn't stand this guy. He was one of those people. Like every time you saw him, he's just one of those people. He was like the Simon Cowell of senior chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't stand the guy. But while I was cranking, he had got caught up in a room with a E2, and they went into a corner. He was grabbing a butt or whatnot. They went into a corner. She sucked him off. came back out the corner, started dressing back up. The video spread all the way throughout the ship. Not gonna lie, a small part of me was happy because I couldn't stand that motherfucker. But
It was on video?
I've seen it was on video.
He filmed it?
No, he didn't film it. It was funny because even though
he was in a room.
Yeah, he was in a room. Even though I don't know why, but it was somebody from my division while I was cranking. Somebody from my actual division was like in a what do they call those things? The little, not gutters. I guess not angle irons. Anyway, somebody from my division was recording it from the next room over. I don't know why he was there. What made him look through the hole?
Like a porthole or something. Like some type of hole. It's like an air. Like an air. This dude was like looking through like an air test fitting or something.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's great. So it was recorded through there, and that's how they saw it.
That's how they saw it. I mean, that's just one example of 1,000, but it was very common for me to see khakis in unduly relationships with junior enlisted. And to a degree, I understand why. You're leveraging power, but
I mean, before you even continue, like, that's crazy because I think about being like, and this not any way in compassion for like that, senior chief or chief, but think about being that person that did the video, like, that's on a video. Before it's official, you've heard about it, so now you like nervous because it's around. You trying to find. I can't imagine waking up. You that senior chief. You trying to find who got it. You trying to. Like, you got to like yo, you
it's too late now.
yeah.
When we found out what airdrop was on the ship, it was too late by then.
You get airdrop. Now, what was you about to say? You was about to say something about unduly. Yeah. Airdrop.
It's extremely common, and I think one of the reasons that it's so common is because it's just leverage of power. I've seen it both with men and women. I've seen it even with females and females. I remember there was one female in particular. I was running the elevator one day on the carrier, and she was just venting to me. Reed, they think that me and Chief is together. Could you believe such a thing? They both got out. They both married now. Like, it's extremely common. A lot of people, especially with lower enlisted, because think about it. Let's just say women, for example, right? It's no secret that women have a tendency to date up. Like, they tend to date the guy that's taller, makes more money. You know what I mean?
That Kevin Samuels coming out now.
Right. But it's true though. We've known it ever since we was in high school. Everybody, the popular kid was never short of girls. Like, the quarterback was never short of girls. Like, the higher your power and social status, typically the more options in women you tend to get. And I think a lot of people in upper enlisted chain of command tend to use that in their favor, whether it be an LPO as a first class or whether it be a chief.
Yeah.
Imagine how much better I got that money. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, chiefs are, I hate to say this, but in a way, chiefs are kind of like the military sugar daddies to a lot of women, because
I'm gonna be straight.
If you got another.
So I'm gonna be real while you talking. I'm gonna be real, and I used to feel like that as a junior seller too. So I like that. Like, I could kind of validate that thought. When I was a junior seller, I thought the same thing. Honestly, like, I'm gonna be straight. I thought it was unfair, like the dating game, because I was single. So I thought the dating game, and it's crazy to say this, and I know we got a lot of chiefs that listen and stuff like that. But I used to think,
sorry, Chief, sorry.
Nah, I mean, we just being honest here though. But I used to think the dating game was unfair. Like, I felt like the senior chiefs and the chiefs that was out there, like, trying to get the same at this time, like, girls, women that we were trying to get. They had an unfair advantage because they had more money, they had more opportunity, they had more money, they had more leverage, they had more power, and they were out there doing it. So I'm not even gonna act like, you just giving me some information that I never kind of experience myself. So I just wanted to kind of just throw that thought out there.
Right. It's something I think people should, I say all the time, Big Navy may not support one thing, but that doesn't mean it's not a reality. You know what I mean? Like, Big Navy supports equal opportunity, but I can't say that there's always equal opportunity in the Navy, because people have their cliques. I always kind of look at the Navy. I know it's gonna sound messed up. This is the pessimist coming out, but I always kind of look at the Navy like a prison system. Like, like a prison has its own rules and regulations, But when it's lights out, there's a new sheriff in town, and it's whoever the people, the police officers that's walking throughout the prison that night. Those are the new COs, and those are the new people making the rules. But when the daytime comes, then then it's the warden or whatever the case may be. That's kind of how I look at the Navy. Like there's big Navy that does or does not support one thing, and then when big Navy's not looking, there's people that run it a completely different way, and you have to be cognizant of your environment, or else you can end up on a lot of people's short end of the stick.
Yeah, well, like here's a thought, right? It's like this, right? If you in a room full of people, right? Let's say you got a room full of people, and you got expectations, and this could be the same way you deal with this as you climb the ladder if you plan on staying in or whatever. But you in a room full of people. Let's say you the LCPO and you got expectations, and you put that expectation out to your people, and then you leave, right? When you leaving like with the thought that that expectation is carried out, your belief system or whatever it is that you kind of instilled into your room full of people is still being kind of carried out. That's a thought, right? You could also leave with a thought that I said this, so it has to get done or whatever. But you left, you walked away, and let's say your division don't see you again till the end of the day, right? And then like, are you going back in there with the thought process? And I'm kind of talking about like just kind of like passing the buck, right? That's really where I'm trying to get at. But do you go back in there with the thought process that every single idea, every single ideal, every single belief that I kind of put on these people, they took and they rolled with? Or like, is it like, yo, I need to figure out what's going on, right? So when you're talking about like the heads of an organization putting out some ideas, right? Hey, we don't believe, we're zero tolerance, we this, we that, but like it has to be follow up, because you giving this to people that's not like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just read an article very recently about, because we talk about equal opportunity, but I just read an article very recently about some chat group that is not like a good chat group to be in if we talk about equal opportunity. And it's like 1 in 8 members that register for this chat group are either active military or they vets, right? And these are people that's like their ideals are like not in line with like equal opportunity, if I could say it the best way possible, right? So it's like, all right, we could say all of this, but like it's still people that exist that we handing this stuff off to. It's some COs, I've been reading the COs getting fired. A few. I think I read about 2 of them. And these stories are always clunky till you get all the details. But a CO got fired for like some racist remarks, some racist emails, some things of that nature, right? So yeah, we saying emails. We zero tolerance. Yeah, emails like to the crew.
That man left a paper trail
to the crew though, like things like to the crew, like hey, you got to look at this like this. But it's like it was like just racially kind of ignorant. Like it wasn't if it was like not necessarily like I'm a racist, but like yo, you probably shouldn't say this. You know what I mean? But it was in some article, and I don't want to misquote the article or misquote the story, so I'm gonna leave it like blanketed like that. But we just saw it happen with like this judge too, like out in the civilian world, like this lady judge, like some people try to go to her house and she said some words, some inflammatory words about these people and stuff like that. But I say all that to say like these are the people that are told from the higher ups in the system, hey, zero tolerance when it comes to this. But then they're the people that's like the judge and the jury of a whole group of people. We literally got judges. You know what I mean? Like decisions are made based off this. You get people go to captain's match. You get people, in the case of the judge, you get people go to jail and stuff like that. So, I mean, I hope I kind of stuck to the idea and the thought that you were saying. But it's like, yeah, you get this big organization that has like these policies and these ideals. But if it's nobody keeping that stuff in check, then you lose it. So to go all the way back to like the chief idea, if my LPO, that's probably going to be more on the deck place and more grounded with my sellers. If my LPO does not share my ideas, the moment I leave the shop, it's done. The like people just get to run around and do whatever they want to do.
Right.
And
I'm listening. I definitely agree with that.
So I got a question.
No, I was just saying I agree with it.
I got a question for you. Evals, right? What's your thoughts on them? Like just period. Like when you think of evals, what do you think about?
I think of more or less what they are, evaluations on your performance in the military. I know, you actually look at the eval, there's a lot of layers. how's your physical appearance, your military bearing, how competent are you at your job, leadership skills, yada yada yada. But to be honest with you, I think evals are. I think they were intended for one thing, but I think in reality, they more often than not is something else. I think they were intended to grade people based off how serious they're actually taking their career in the military.
Yeah.
In reality, I think it's a way for, I think more often than not, it can be a tool that people use to kind of manipulate you, if I'm being honest. If I'm being honest, because you could be one of the hardest working one of the hardest working sailors that a person got, but you piss the wrong person off, and then that 100 days of hard work, one day of a good piss off, or you do something that makes the division or the chain of command looks bad. I think a lot of people have that fear that that's going to impact their evaluation. Yeah. So I think the eval system, honestly, it needs to be worked out. I think its intention of what it's supposed to be isn't always what it is in reality. Sometimes, sure, this person checks all the boxes. EP, here you go. Boom, you deserve that. I just don't think that's always how it works, though. There's like these little loopholes and gray areas and areas of finesse that I think can be used with the evaluation system.
Yeah, I think we could do a lot, a lot of different things to change it. Because I think now again, and you could kind of correct me, if I'm wrong on this, but I think from like E1 almost to like from E1 through E6, like it's a rat race to get an EP. That's like that's the goal. That's the golden ticket is an EP. Am I correct on that?
No, that's the go. Especially depending on your rate. That's definitely the golden thing. Especially like a rate like mine's with low quotas. It's you can make rank off of MP, but you damn near have to like legit score perfect on the test. Like EP is like it's detrimental.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, do you believe that like the EPs and stuff don't really matter after you make chief? Can you believe that?
I know. I to a certain degree, yes, I can. Because from my understanding, when you make chief, from like E1 to E6, really E5, but I'll say E6. It's more so of what you bring to the table. You're really kind of representing yourself, if I'm being honest. But once you put on khaki clothes, it's more so about what the people underneath you look like and how much. And not only can you lead the people below you, but can you lead your peers as well? Like, can you organize, once you become chief, can you organize events and lead other chiefs, possibly even other senior chiefs, or whatever the case may be. But especially it's about how the people underneath you perform. So,
yeah,
I think the tides change, if you will. But from E1 to E6, I think it's more or less about how you represent yourself.
So I worked hard, right? Like throughout my career, I worked a lot, did a lot. But I have a little small confession. I wish I never cared about like EP. I wish I never ever cared about it, right? And I know sellers do, right? So I'm not like kind of speaking to a wall here, but it was times I cared about an EP. You know what I mean? And I just, after making chief and kind of seeing things through like a different lens, if I could go back, I would do all the same stuff, right? But I wish like that didn't weigh as heavy, like EP or not EP, didn't weigh as heavy to me as it weighed in those early years in the Navy. And I don't know what thoughts you got on that, Damon. But I mean, that's just me and my little, confession.
Sorry, your audio.
Yeah, someone out.
Went out. Someone out. I think I understand where he was about to go with the question. He was saying more or less that he wished he didn't care about EPs.
Yeah.
What's like? I think he was going with, do I think people should care about EPs?
Yeah.
And if that was the question that you're asking, honestly, I think there's a balance. I wish I could just say no, people shouldn't care at all. But no, you should definitely care. It's like saying that it's kind of like, think of it like in school. Like, should you care about always getting an A+? Maybe not, but you should care about your grades. You do want to keep it at a healthy limit. Don't just, be going out here getting D's and F's saying, fuck it. But I think evaluations are the same way. I don't think people should care so strongly about the EP, but I do think people should care to a healthy extent, about their evaluation, because you don't want to just be a down the line peace sailor.
Can you
Well,
hear me?
my take on the EP
Damon,
is this. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah.
Hey, before you give it though, I do want to clarify something. I wasn't going to ask you if you thought people should care about it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's all good. That's just, I don't have that as a question because I know that junior sellers care. And I think they have a just reason to care before they make E6, and I'm not going to elaborate too deep on that, but I do think they have a reason to care. Sorry, Damon.
Yeah. And I just think on the EP thing, to me, it ain't the fact that I really care about the EP, because everybody cares about it, but it's when you put the work in. I mean, like me, I always been honest with myself. You know what I mean? Being honest with myself is, if I didn't deserve this EP, I shouldn't get this EP. But when I feel like I put that work in, I feel like I deserve that EP. And that what weighs heavily on me at the end of the day. Because I know, what they're like on the ships I've been on, I know what everybody doing, man. You know what I mean? And I'm competitive and I want to beat you. Right. So I'm watching what you're doing. I'm doing my thing and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I feel like I competed and I should be there and I don't get it. Then it weighs heavily on me. Now, if somebody beat me out, I would be the first one to say, that motherfucker kicked some ass right there. It is what it is, but yeah, that's kind of my take on it, man.
I think everybody think they're EP nowadays.
I don't think so, man. I think they gotta know. I think you're right. I think they gotta know, man. They gotta understand though. You know what I mean?
Everybody think they rank number one.
Nah, I don't think so, man. I don't think everybody think that, man.
Well, I mean, BG, what's your because I could be completely wrong. Do everybody think they rank number one or what?
So I know when you say everybody, you're probably not in a super literal.
No, I'm not. I'm not being literal.
You're probably just saying majority.
Yeah, I'm not being literal. I'm not being literal. I'm joking. I'm joking around for the people.
Being a little facetious. Shit, that is a difficult question to answer though, because I don't know, because people are full of shit, man. Like I really
they are, right?
People will say something and deep internally really don't believe that shit, but will try to sell it to you and get you to believe it. I deserve that.
It's like when
in the back of their head, they like, no, you gonna believe I did. Though.
I'm telling you, it's like when you ask people like, hey, what's your weakness? And they be like, yo, my weakness is I care too much about people. My weakness is I love too hard.
Exactly. Right. People want to date me until they find out I cook breakfast in the morning, find out I don't cheat. Like, people full of shit, man. It's a hard question to answer.
I know, man, from a fact of being, in for a minute, man, that I've been in like rooms after eval, they pissed off about the eval, and I say, you can come talk to me afterwards or whatever. And they come in, they talk to me, and you're right, Damo, they really, really think they're EP, and I'm like, I had to break it down. And I remember one time I had this sailor, man, and I was a DC-1 at the time, and I was in my at the time my chief had me talking to, the pretty much E4s and below. I was the one doing the little briefs or whatever with him. That we call that grooming me, grooming me or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I am talking to him, and afterwards, sailor was pissed off. Boom, eval, pissed off, right? So afterwards, I said, saw them in the P-way, and I was like, hey, come see me. We could talk if you want to. Came see me, and break it down. And hey man, I really thought, I had a chance of doing this and doing that. So me at the time, if I've been myself now, I wouldn't have went this route with it. But at the time I did. I said, well, who are you better than? Who do you think you were better than? And it went from there. But hey, I made the point though. The point got made, but I wouldn't have went the route I went when I was younger though.
You scarred that person.
Yeah, I probably did, man. But I want to let them know who you think you better than. And then I broke down Qualls. I said, Qualls. I said, hey, they got this.
That person up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I answered it. To answer your question.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, because you made a valid point. To answer your question, no, everybody don't think that they deserve EP. People should be talking shit.
Yeah. But hey, at the end of the day, though, I proved my point, but I proved my point the wrong way, though. I was being very like I'm gonna show this motherfucker. Yeah. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, okay, let me break it down to him, blah blah. I was like, no, let me show them they not the EP sailor.
They walked away hurt.
Yeah,
they walked away.
Just had to bring that point around.
Man, that's all I was trying to do. I learn, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do, man. We get feedback. We learn. We get better, man.
And that's what this is. This is what we do here. This is a learning experience too. Because I feel like I gotta say that here because we probably said a lot of stuff today that like people gonna want to teach us some stuff about. You know what I'm saying?
I know, right?
So, but hey, we love y'all. You know, hey, but my question for you, BG, is this. I brought it up earlier. A thought about it, right? A thought about me thinking it was some kind of like disconnection of trust or whatever between like Junior Sellers and like the mess. Based off your observation, do you think it is?
Most definitely. Most definitely. Because I think so. I definitely think that there's a disconnection of trust. Because at the end of the day, you know, a lot of times, especially with officers, but just anyone wearing khaki pants, initially when you first join the Navy, you almost look at them like superheroes. Almost like how you used to look at your parents growing up. Like, you know, like you looked at your parents like gods among men. Like these were the people that had the answers right here. Like, you know, you better not challenge or question anything they say because their opinion ain't an opinion, it's law.
Yep.
Like they know better. They've been here before you. Yada yada yada. But as you grow older, the same way as you grow older as a child into adulthood, or the same way as a junior enlisted, you grow into your career, you start seeing the flaws of these superheroes that you used to look up to, some for better, some for worse. And you start to realize that a lot of times they don't have all the answers. They may have more answers due to experience, but they don't have all of them. And you start to see where they're not perfect at. And some of the things that they're not perfect at is just straight up ugly. And so it brings you back down to reality that simply these are just people in different clothes that have authority over you. And that can be kind of scary because you know, at the end of the day, you know, you used to look at it like these people look at, you know, law and order. These people look at you know, structure and order in the military like a book. You know what I mean? Like they to this day they still remember all their general orders. Like these people were as straight and narrow as they can get. Then you start to realize some people are more straight and narrow than others, but a lot of people are just in positions of authority and they're liable to use it to their advantage, which could be at your disadvantage. So it does create some unease for junior sailors, I believe. Not necessarily all chiefs. Again, nothing in life is all but death and taxes. But I definitely think there is a disconnect between chiefs and junior enlisted, because as you continue in your career, you're gonna start seeing through the holes, seeing through the gaps, seeing some imperfections. And it's one thing to have faith in something that you think is perfect and can't do no wrong. And it's another thing to have faith in something that you realize is just as flawed as yourself.
Did that come from, you think that mindset came from experience and seeing it, or a perception of someone talking before you? Like it could be I always see people like, you know, you get on the ship 5 days. Like we had this conversation before. Me and Damo talked about it before. You be on the ship 5 days and that chief suck. You know what I mean? like you don't even know him yet or whatever. Like you already got a perception of him being like that from someone else. And you think that could be an issue of not getting it yourself. We just, you know, that was everybody else saying.
I definitely think it's, you know, 50-50 or 60-40 or 40-60. I think it definitely splits. Hell, even with myself, people used to tell me all the time when they first got to the ship, they heard this about me, heard that about me. And then they actually got to know me and they saw, you know, how hard working I was, how much I cared that other people learned the job, you know, yada, yada. And they was like, they would tell me nothing I heard about you matches up. I had a completely different outlook on you before they even got to know me. And I think that probably kind of goes with chiefs too. Like as soon as you get to the ship, people start talking shit about particular chiefs, and then the moment they do something that confirms that confirmation bias of yours, then you're gonna be like, oh shit, they wasn't lying. That chief is trash. Like all he did was trip over a rock. I knew that motherfucker was trash. He said it. He told me. So yeah, I think that 50-50, that goes down the middle from both experience and from other people feeding you their experience as absolute truth, and those people not knowing how to just take the information with a grain of salt and keep it pushing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely 50-50 down the middle, or 60-40, whichever way.
Yeah. Hey man, that's a good observation, man. That's a good observation, because that kind of, some of the things that I think about, that's along the lines of some of the things that I think about. And we didn't forget the fact that it's just some scumbags out here in a world that have done things that just would mess up the perception. You know what I'm saying? We definitely didn't forget that, but we also we were able to bear in mind that there are people that just talk about things before you even get a chance to see it. You know what I mean? So it's like that. So when that person be like, hey, what time is it? And you like, man, he had the nerve to ask me what time it was in the P-way. It's like, he got a watch, he got a clock. Why was he asking me what time it was? The person could have legitimately really wanted to know what time it was, but we already, we built that up. So I do think it's a lot of contagion, right? If I could think of a word, it's like contagion. Like, yo, that dude suck. He trash. I don't listen to him. I don't follow him. He did this to me. He's going to do it to you. He's going to burn you. And then that just go down the line. You know what I mean? Or somebody got burned by we were talking on another somebody else podcast. We was talking about how somebody could have got burned by a chief in the past, or burned by a leader, not just a chief, but a leader in the past, and just had a resentment against leadership, and made sure that they let people that listen to them know, yo, you can't trust these people because of this, because of that, man. And but do you think that it hey, Damon, you got a question? You got something to add?
No, go ahead.
Do you think that it's ways to fix that lack of trust?
Man, you guys ask some good ass questions, because every time I try to think of the answer, I always see two scenarios, and I want to give you absolutes. I can say that they're fix. I don't know. Make better.
Yeah,
most
definitely.
Better.
Yeah, make better. It's better.
Because you could do all you can. There's always going to be that 1%. 1,000 people 999 people can see black. One person's going to see gray. I don't. I think the best thing that you can do to fix it, not fix it, make it better, would be to hold your peers accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
Not to get too far off, even in this country, we was having a whole bunch of problems with police brutality in the black community or whatnot. And one of the most common things people would say is, people should hold their peers accountable. Like, for example, I'm sorry to veer off. I like to use analogies to drive in a point.
Yeah.
Let's just say the unfortunate incident that happened to George Floyd. A lot of people, when they were watching that footage, they were looking at the other police officers and they was like, why aren't they doing anything? Why are they just sitting there watching? I knew, literally, I kid you not, I knew, and I told my wife this, I said, just from experience of being in the military alone, I was like, those people aren't doing anything because they're junior. I was like, straight up, they're junior in law enforcement. I was like, there's some old head. They're relying on, instead of holding that person accountable, saying, yeah, you may be higher ranking than me, but there's one thing that's higher ranking than both of us, and that's the rules and the law. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having that commitment to the law that shadows everyone, they have more of a high. It's kind of like a frat thing. They have a higher commitment to the person that has higher rank than them. I think holding one another accountable will help fix those trust issues that we have, because when you have this big boys club of we're gonna look after our own and sweep it under the rug, it disconnects trust. I mean, hell, the whole chief initiation, once you make chief and all the bullshit, all the things the chiefs got to go through, it's a lot like a fraternity. And if you're not a part of said fraternity, you can't help but to feel outside of the loop. It's going to be difficult for you to believe that Chiefs are gonna hold their peer group accountable for when they make bad decisions and actually do right by you when you're not in that circle. There's a whole bunch of tradition that you would have to start detaching from the Navy to start that, though, to help build that trust. Not fix it, but to help build it back up. And I don't think that's going to happen no time soon. I know there's, let me say this, I do know that there's definitely good chiefs. There's definitely good senior chiefs. There's definitely people that care about, they're the people they're junior sailors, whatever the case may be.
Well, let me add this though, just so for you and your audience and whatever, that's part of that initiation that we doing, that we go in there and we frat and all that, however somebody want to call it. But all of that stuff we do, part of it is holding us accountable. You know what I mean? In that space, right? Somebody's not doing what they need to do. You're gonna know before you walk through those doors. You're gonna get held accountable too, though. You know what I mean? So if that's not happening, you letting everybody down, right? You letting, because one thing about it, we learn real quickly about chiefs is that one of them can ruin everybody. You know what I mean? So you have to hold them accountable. And sometimes you got to make an example out of them, right? Because we hold a standard, right? So I know that is, man, what you said was just so like right on, because I know that perception of, hey, they gonna brush that shit on the rug once they go inside the mess. Ain't nothing gonna happen. You may not see it, because, you may be too junior to see what's going on. But I also feel like you have to, man, to be a strong chief mess, you got to hold everybody accountable too, though. You have to.
Let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. Let's just say, there's being junior and listener, there's justice or accountability being held, but you don't see it. Could an argument be made that even if there is accountability being held, could an argument be made that if you don't see it, it might as well not have been held? Because what's the difference? How is that going to change your perception if you don't know that there was a cause to this effect or an effect to this cause?
So go ahead, Damo.
You want to
go ahead?
Let me. All right. So Damon, you still could have whatever thoughts you have, because I don't know if I'm gonna hit this exactly. But let's say that somebody was corrected in the junior sailor world, right? How is that person treated, like, after they get, corrected? Are they ever, like, you ever see like re-victimization, or you ever see people get made fun of for like the mistake that they made?
It's always, I have. It's always it's always an awkward thing.
Yeah,
but because people are just people. Like, again, I said I've just started to embrace that I can be somewhat of a pessimist, but we're just flawed. And
yeah. So in the Navy, right? It's like, as you're thinking and stuff, right? I'm gonna jump real quick, and then maybe you could think. In the Navy, I've seen like people kind of fuck with the fuck up, right? And I know my mom gonna be like, "Damn, he was cursing a little bit," but I've seen people like mess with the person that made the mistake, right? Almost to a point that it's like bullying, and it could affect their like mental health, right? Have you seen that at all? Like somebody get in trouble and then it's repeated? Like things are like they get in trouble, then things are like said about them, and it's like, yay, like it's almost like, damn, like, okay, they got in trouble. Like, have you ever seen that amongst junior sailors?
Somewhat. I've definitely seen it. A lot of times if there's here's the thing, right? If there's a fuck up, someone fucks up, you expect the leadership to handle it. Whatever the case may be, whether it's just talking to them, counseling shit. If it's severe enough, may have to go above them, but you expect it to be handled. But I think the problem comes in when you see like chiefs not only talking shit amongst themselves, but talking shit, with the LPO, or maybe with this random second class over here, about you, or you know what I mean? When they don't, it's one thing to talk a little shit and keep it amongst chiefs.
Yeah.
And then you don't let that person see you talking shit. Cause they, then it's almost like you wasn't, same thing. It's almost like you wasn't even talking shit, cause I didn't see it. And you kept it within a circle that's going to keep it within that circle.
Yeah.
But when you start talking shit to people outside your circle, so much to the point that it trickles down to my circle, then it's just then that's that creates a whole new area of distrust, because I get it. I fucked up, but damn, there's a way that you're supposed to. There's a classy way you could talk shit about me in my fuck up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like goddamn.
Because like that question you brought up, and I swear I know Damon probably itching to make a much better point than me. But the question that you brought up, I always think about it, right? Because I do think we should be transparent about like what happens when things happen. Like we should be transparent about what happened to somebody and like that something happened, because I would want that too. But I'm not sure that we handle knowing when people got in trouble the best way. And that's amongst peers. So like, I'm not sure that like a group of E4s would treat an E4 that got in trouble like the best after that E4 got in trouble. Like as far as embracing that E4, like me as a chief, if you get in trouble, my job is not to make you feel like shit. It's like to embrace you. Let's work through this. Let's, get back on the right path. So the only reason why I say that is because I think like if we all know the punishment that a chief got or what happened to the chief, like is our response the same way it is like when we do that, when we re-victimize like each other, or like, is it okay? Is everything hunky-dory? We know what happened to the chief. It's all good to go. Or is our matters worse? I don't know. Like, it's like if a chief did something like on watch, they made a mistake, like, and they had like a fuel leak or whatever. And like, nobody kind of not like, and it wasn't like swept under the rug or something like that, right? And like everybody knew what happened. Now our junior sellers now, like, hey, I'm not standing watch after chief, like in front of chief's face and shit like that. Like, does that do anything to chief's ability to like lead our mental health? Like,
I think it boils down to the punishment, because if you fuck up on something, right, and then you're getting held to the maximum. Actually, I can give you a perfect example. I'm an aircraft director. We get told about the 5-foot rule. If you're within 5 feet of an aircraft, have a safety. Follow the 120 dot by dot by dot. They harp on us. And if you skip one rule, we sending your ass to the captain. They used to tell us that shit all the time, right? And anytime somebody did the slightest, anytime someone junior, E4 that was a director did the slightest fuck up, went against the rule in the slightest way. Maybe he didn't have a safety and he should have had a safety. Whatever. They hand him the harpoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if a chief would be breaking all types of rules, but nothing happens. And in broad daylight, with pure confidence, because who's gonna say anything to him? The only time officers are gonna get involved if you hit some shit, if you fuck up some shit.
So the last time I sent a message, right, and I'm gonna stop for Damon, but the last time I sent a message that, hey, the next time this happens, I'm getting like this gonna happen. The last time I did that, it was because I got the same message, right? So like,
right,
I'm getting like, so it's like a senior, like, yo, the next time this happened, your ass is grass. So I'm getting the threat too, but they're not gonna tell you that. Like, they getting a threat. You might not see it as well, like we talked about. But so normally when you see that, like, because they don't want the mistake, because it's like they ask. I got like a punishment, like as a chief, that I don't think anybody really saw, but it made like my days harder for like everything. Like my division made a mistake. So to mitigate from us making a mistake again, if ever we did something, I had to be there. Right? Like every single time. So like even like, and it's not like I'm an electrician. So it's like if you do live electrical work, you don't necessarily need your chief. Right. But to mitigate, for us not to make the mistake we made before, it was like 2 years of me being at every single like live electrical work, like evolution that we had. So
that sounds annoying as hell.
Right. And it's so a junior seller might not like, a junior seller might be like, well, chief didn't get like busted. Like, I don't know what the hell happened to chief, but it's like, we might do 6 live electrical work things a day. So at any time, and then it started to like kind of hurt like some, like with the division, because now they got to work around, because now I'm like, I got 3 meetings in the morning. Like we can't start our live work till like after lunch. So, and then it's like, all right, chief, we need you to do the live work, but we prepping for inspection. We doing this, we doing that. So it was like, for me, it was a much harder punishment than I ever really had to deal with before, because it's like, this is like my whole fucking, my whole day is to live work.
I think that's what it boils down to too. I think people just don't want to be punished more severely for the same mistake.
Yeah.
Based off of their rank alone.
Yeah.
But,
if you could find a fine line between that, I think it's okay. I don't think you should be chewing Chief's ass out in front of your junior sailors. Because then that, that fucks with respect and all that.
But Chief shouldn't be chewing your ass in front of everybody either, because it's like reprimand.
Oh, no, our Chiefs didn't give a damn. They'll do it in front of your grandmama.
What you got, David? I know David got something.
No, well, I just had the thing about, man, at the end of the day, Chiefs are in there to lead, man, right? So you get in trouble and you getting called out and you getting in front of everybody, like maybe do a junior sailor. How you gonna effectively lead? You ain't gonna finna effectively lead me if you out there fucking. You just got your ass chewed out. You just fucked all this up, and everybody and their mama saw it, and blah 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 blah. But now you have to go back and effectively, like, still lead these sailors, right? So you may not see the punishment as much for a chief, and it won't never be the same either, though, right? And I want to throw that out there. I know you said, like, a junior sailor, same thing, and that doesn't happen to the chief. And there's reasons for that, man. One of them is the fact of, you know how it'd be hard as hell to bust a chief down, right?
It is. Only like gotta get approved by Congress.
It's some crazy stuff that has that to happen to bust a chief down, right? And then on top of that, I just got my train of thought. It ain't the fact that I think the CEO or anybody wants to keep it in, but he also wants to make sure that he still have a strong chief mess, right? So that's one of the reasons why you don't see, like, oh man, chief got this punishment, he got that punishment, he fucked this up, he did that, even though everybody know about it. But one thing that Damo brung up, it's a lot of different things they also can do. One is, motherfucker, we ain't doing shit else. You're going to be there for every freaking check they do from now on to make sure everything is squared away. You may get a LOI. You could even get DFC from the command, right? Fire your ass and send you somewhere. Those are things they do. You may still keep your rank, but your career could be like over with some of the things they can do if you get in trouble. So it's kind of like on a different platform, a different level of punishment. But I know how bad it is being you're E5, you get busted down to E4, man. It's like your life over with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I understand
like
that.
The first point, I was just gonna say, the first point you made is like when Kevin Hart said he saw his dad get his ass whooped. Then he tried to tell him to take the trash out. Like,
yeah. What up, thing, man?
Not taking out the trash, dog. Like you not telling.
What's that dude's name again? Don't make me go get. What's his name?
So I mean, I think. But the one point, and that's a clunky kind of that's a clunky conversation. I love that conversation. It's a clunky conversation that I might have thought different about before I made chief. So I would love to hear what like more junior sailors and more chiefs got to say about that conversation. But the one thing I do want to say about all of that was like people need to embrace the check, right? So like you got this whole thing, it's a story from the Bible, which, we don't talk that much about. But when Jesus was like, may he without sin cast the first stone or whatever, right? Or may whoever, have not sinned cast the first stone. That had to do with judgment, right? But my thought process is it's a difference between judgment and feedback, right? So what you was talking about earlier, BG, was about like people correcting each other and people, doing certain things. I honestly think a lot of people be scared to like correct people because they thinking about their issues. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you got some issues or you messed up last week on a maintenance check or something like that, and then you're going to go tell somebody else like, hey, you're doing that wrong. And they're going to be like, yo, you the same person that was just, messed up last week. So I think sometimes that stop us from doing that. And I think that we all, like as the person that's like giving the feedback and the person that's receiving the feedback, we all need to have like more grace in that process or whatever like that. And I think
perception is definitely reality.
Yeah. And I think that will help. I really think that will help.
Yeah.
Man, that was good, man. That was good stuff, man. Hey, you got any thoughts or questions for us? Anything that have you ever sat with like two senior chiefs and just like talk like this?
Actually, no. I got kind of a talent, I guess you could say, is I don't really get stage fright like that.
Yeah.
So I could literally be in front of a million people and still be talking the same, or I could be in front of literally be in front of the Alma right now and still, if I had to probably curse a little bit less, but if I was able to curse, I'd still more or less be the same. Well, because I'm able to separate my professional from my personal. So,
do you think more conversations like this need to happen?
Most definitely. Most definitely. I definitely do. Because here's the thing, right? The military is such a fickle thing because on the one hand, you do want to get feedback, see how people view about things, maybe moderate the things that don't really work as well as they used to, whatever the case may be. But you don't want to necessarily transfer into this world where you're just caring way too much about people's feelings. So I think the scuttlebutt should be, I think the water out to sea should be a little tastier. Like there's this fine line between getting feedback to make the military better, and then just caring way too much, forgetting that you're still the military and caring way too much, about everyone's opinion to the point where you can't even be productive.
Yeah.
But I do think conversations like this are important because I think the Navy in a lot of ways is very old school, even though it's changing. I think it's very old school and traditional in a lot of ways, and some of those ways are outdated. And the only way you're going to update them is to have conversations like this.
Hey, that's my biggest thing for feedback is right there, man. Because I'm a big firm believer. I always say it, that the new generation is way smarter, most definitely smarter than me, right? So I look for feedback for better ways to do things. You know what I mean? You guys get, because I'm talking about, we can go over there and freaking turn off a switch, right? Man, I'm sure Junior Say can come up with a way to turn that switch out without moving out of their seat. You know what I mean? But it's probably some better ways of doing things to get it done. Long as it don't kill nobody, long as it don't break no equipment, long as no one get hurt, I will listen to it.
Right.
What's
it say? If it can do the job or exceed, then
yeah. And then you made a good point, man. A lot of stuff in the military, man. Some of that shit's been going on since 1950. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of it.
Yeah, I was just,
like, quite frankly, I still think bringing snacks to a board is silly, but bringing snack. Do y'all still do that? Y'all still do
it's been snacks. It's been a while for me.
Let me tell you my story, man, about the snacks to a board thing, man. And I used to be an East West coordinator, man. I never indulged in that shit though. Sailors always brung it, but I was never a big fan of it because I felt like you finna earn, regardless of what you bring in this board, you're about to earn this pen.
That's only because you was on the keto diet, though. That's only because you was on the keto diet.
I didn't indulge.
I knew a girl. I kid you not. She went to the ship store, bought a shit, probably dropped damn near $40 worth of snacks, and then everybody put it in the locker room before it was their turn for the board. And the first person that went up for the board did horrible on it. And they got all mad and shit. They said all the boards are canceled for the day. So this girl wasted her whole $40. Didn't even get to take her board that day. And they just in the locker room eating her shit up. I was like, see, that's that bullshit right there, right? That's that bullshit,
man.
I should. They would have me fucked up. I would have went and got my Laffy Taffies back.
Yeah, like I'm gonna need till we reboard. Let me get those. Snacks.
Let me get that back at you,
Don't bring no snacks to a board if you ain't study. You know what I'm saying? Don't bring no snacks to a board if you ain't study the material, man.
For my board, I went to the galley and grabbed some Pop-Tarts. That's what and brought that shit up to that. Like I was like, it's sort of like how you said, either I know it or I don't.
It, man.
Like,
that's
what I mean?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. You could pass a board without a snack, 100%. Hey, like
they probably gonna ask you some goofy ass questions just because you didn't bring no snack.
You ain't got
no. While, man.
What is 2 + 2?
I ain't really.
What's 2 + 2 on Wednesdays? What?
We were on a DDG. I ain't see it that much on the DDG. Recent time, I ain't see it. I don't know about Damon, but I ain't see too much of it. I think I saw a few people, but I ain't see too much of it. So
yeah,
hopefully we are getting past that.
Yeah, I hope so. That's a tradition that needs to get the hell out of here.
Hey, you got any more questions, Damon?
No, man, I'm good, man. We have great conversations, man. Great conversation.
Man, I feel like it's so much more on the table, man. Like I feel like it's so much more we could talk about, man. We might have to bring you on again. You know what I'm saying? This was
man. I'd be honored, man. I enjoyed myself.
Most definitely, man.
This was a really good conversation. But before you do go, can you plug your everything you got going on, from the podcast to the YouTube channel and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, y'all can find me on YouTube at 911BabyGoat. I post content on there pretty regularly. I'm trying to do at least one video a week. I talk about a lot of things military related, and I make sure I do it in an entertaining fashion. You're probably not going to watch a video without at least getting one Kiko cackle in. So, and you can also follow me on Instagram at 911BabyGoat. I probably got a few more platforms that got 911BabyGoat on it, but I ain't really on it like that. Instagram and YouTube are my main two. If you're interested in joining the military and you kind of want to gather as much information as possible before you do to kind of get a mental head start of what you're likely to experience based off of the things I and other sailors have experienced, then you'll definitely like the channel. So 911BabyGoat on YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah,
Most
hey man,
definitely.
this was real, man. A lot of perspective. You got a lot of good perspective about a lot of things. In the Navy, especially some of the thoughts about the evals and some of the perspective you got on that stuff, man. Hey, just keep it up. You know what I mean? You always got to reference whether it be professional, whether it be something that got to do with this. Hit me up, reach out, especially on the Navy side, man. I'm here to help. But I appreciate you. You was our first E4 that we've spoken with. So you're the first E4 that we talked to. On our podcast and our platform, and good luck with your platform.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and
man.
I love
when
it.
I'm in San Diego, if I see you, I'm gonna have to make sure I say hey.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Hey, most definitely, I want to thank you, man, for not giving us the little cookie crumble answers and stuff, man. Being real, man, saying what you really think and stuff. Like a lot of times people get with us and they be like, trying to juggle around it and shit, man. So thank you for telling us, real shit, that's happening out there. Most definitely in the fleet. So hey, thank you, man.
Yeah,
thank you very much. Hell, I was hoping I was a good host. I'm like, shit, I ain't trying to.
Nah, you
ain't trying
straight,
to.
man. That's why. But that's why I've been dying to talk to a third class or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So hey, we appreciate you. We still got some more stuff that we need to do before we get out of here. But hey, we appreciate you. Everybody listening, all your audience that's gonna turn us off after you leave. Happy Valentine's Day to y'all. But we appreciate you, man, and we look forward to hearing from you again.
Yeah, you too, man. All right.
Hey, so we still got to talk this movie, and we still got to talk this book. Hey, well, real quick reflection. I really like that conversation.
Yeah. I think it was a lot of real stuff out there, man. A lot of real contents. And man, and look, and when he was talking, man, like I could see it though, man. Like I could see it, like that's honest, feedback from a junior sailor. He was one of those guys that came on and he didn't sugarcoat it. He told exactly his perception of whatever is happening. And that's what I like about it, man. Just be real about it. Then we could talk about it. And that was a key thing for that. And in the future, we're gonna be looking for more junior sailors to talk to because they give it to us just like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Straight.
Yeah,
he gave it to us straight. And the one point that I want to make up is like we're not in the business of altering people's thoughts and stuff. We're in the business of hearing people like experience. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't change your experience, and I can't make you have perceived your experience different than it was. And it wasn't nothing too controversial that, he was talking about. But I'm just saying that for future, because there's a lot of things going on with podcasts right now and the world in that space or whatever. If somebody got a thought, if somebody had an experience, then that's their own thing. We like the conduit, or we here to kind of walk through it. And so other people can hear it, because I'm sure it's other people that share the experience or share the thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got a couple things. Like I said, this is our Valentine's Day episode. So my book real quick is called Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, right? And it's just about the relationship between a man and a woman, a cycle of love and respect. I was told to read this book by my wife's pastor because we didn't go to marital counseling, right? So I think I was going. We were supposed to go to marital counseling before we got married. I think I was going like on deployment or something, but I could tell like pastor wanted he still wanted me to get the 7 weeks in, man. But he was like, I asked him, I was like, man, can I just get a book suggestion? So he gave me this book, Love and Respect. It's a really good book. To be honest, I read like the first 3 chapters and realized that after that, it was just going to get super repetitive, right? So it was pretty much women want love, men want. I'm sweating. It was pretty much Women want love, men want respect. And it's if a woman don't get love, she's not gonna respect the man. If a man don't get respect, he's not gonna love the woman. And it's just a continuous cycle, and it's supposed to have helped a whole lot of people, stuff like that. So definitely get that, check it out. It's a really good book. All right, let's talk this. You know what it's time to do, man.
Band of Brothers. Man.
Band of Brothers.
Episode 5, The Crossroads. Man. So
yeah.
I took some notes on this episode. This episode kind of stood out to me a little bit from a leadership standpoint, right? And it was more about the leadership standpoint of leading by example, right? Being the first one to do something. Like the lead character in this movie, he wasn't just saying, "Hey, I need you guys to go do that." He was the first one to go do it, and you guys followed him to a site or him going wherever he was going inside the show. And then it started making me think a little bit, right? He came in and they put a big workload on him. And the only thing I was thinking about, man, is us as chiefs or first classes or whoever in a leadership position have to prioritize, right? So he had to go make plans for his troops. He had to do a citation. He had to do he had to do an inventory of all his weapons and stuff and all his ammo and stuff. They put all this stuff on him at once, right? And I was thinking about from a leader standpoint, now you got to think about how you're going to get this done. How you going to delegate this out? How you going to prioritize what you're going to get done first and all that type of stuff. So I really was relating to this from a leadership standpoint. And then there was a part in the show that talked that they moved him up in rank, right? So they moved him up in rank, made him like the executive officer, but it was hard for him to let go of being with the troops, of being down there with his guys, being down with Easy Company, right? So the first thing he said when he told him that, first thing he came out of his mouth was, well, who's going to run Easy Company, right? And then I remember one part in that it was the guy that was running Easy Company came up and they talked about it. You know how you now you in that position and the guy that was there is higher than you. Now you want to go talk with him about the mission you guys about to do and how he's going to perform it, right? So he go the guy that moved up, he giving his take. Hey, I need you to do it like that. Be quick, be fast, be this, be that, right? Because you can't let it go. It's hard for you to let go of being down there on the in a Navy standpoint. I'm saying on the deck place with the sailor. Working hard, doing the things you need to do. That's kind of how I relate to this. It's hard to let go of turning wrenches, right? And then it twists a little bit on us, and it was a little PTSD type stuff in there, right? It was a part in that movie where you saw when he came over the top, and this guy was standing there. He killed this guy that was right there, point blank.
Yeah.
But then he was on his train. They gave him a little vacation, and that's the only thing he was thinking about was the war that he was just in. That's all he saw was the war. He even pictured one of his friends, the one of the friends that he shot. That's the type of stuff that he was thinking about in his head. But guess what? No, like today, stuff like that happened. We on top of it. We PhD. But we talking about back then, he didn't get the type of help that he needed. He was still in the fight the whole time. So I was thinking
that shot was like embedded in his brain.
Yes, it was.
He never forgot about it.
Never forgot about it, man. Never forgot about it. And another thing that came out, man, was the fact of some kind of way he ended up back in the fight. See, everything worked out in his favor though, because he wanted to be back out there, right? But at the end, by the time the show ended up, he was back out there with Easy Company again. Not saying he's back being in charge of them, but he was back out there with him in the field. So what I took away from the Crossroad episode 5 was a lot of good leadership on how to handle moving up the chain of command and how you dealing with it and how you still trying to affect what's going on with those guys at Easy Company when you got more things to worry about now, but you still can't let go. And then and making it's personal, man. Like it's this, the stuff that we do in the military, the things that they did over there, it takes a toll on you at the end, right? And in the beginning of the movie, they was talking about they didn't even know how this guy did it. They don't know how he survived all this stuff. He was always the first one to fight, leading by example, first one in, and they didn't know how he survived the whole time. So it's a good show, man. I'm telling you, from start to finish, I still in tune. I have not freaking like dozed off. I've been like with the show, and it's good, man. First 5 episodes, it's really good.
Yeah. So the way, I don't have much, but the way it started, like this was, they referenced like the aftermath of Market Garden, right? So I think the last time we did a review, I forgot Market and Garden, but they in the very beginning, they kind of referenced the aftermath of that. So for me, like I said, this felt more like an anthology series, but we knew it was based on like the same team. It was different for like as I was following, and I might not have been following it the best way, but it felt like an anthology where it was like patches from people memories, like this happened and this happened for those first 4 episodes. But number 5 for me felt sequential. Like it felt like, all right, this is a bridge from episode number 4, and then the way it ended for me, they were headed somewhere, right? So it felt like that was a bridge to episode number 6, and then it was called Crossroads, right? So I think that was all intentional for this episode to kind of be like the middle episode. And then you also had the kind of connection between the keys, because he was writing like, like a letter. He was typing something up, so you had the keys in the typewriter connected to the actual shots. Yeah, they was connected to the shots. Like, so as you hear the keys, it would transition between the keys and the shots of the weaponry that was being fired. But this was primarily about winners. This was about leadership. And this episode was directed by Tom Hanks. So Tom Hanks and Spielberg, they produced the show. But this episode was the only one that Tom Hanks decided to direct. And I think the cool thing about this show is that Winners was alive to consult with when they was creating the show. So he died at some point, like after. But he was alive to talk to. So everything, like down to like him grabbing the cup of pee and like throwing it on, throwing a cup of pee on his friend, that was real. Like it really happened. He really didn't know it was pee. Down to like the movies that like these guys watched. That was the real actual movie that they watched at the time. Winners remembered it all. So like, and I remember talking to you in the beginning about like the authenticity of the show and how I could tell people cared about it. But like now knowing that it was actually Winners who was being consulted with, oh hell yeah. Yeah, you're gonna get the true honest show. It's a companion podcast that I was listening to, and I listened to it specifically about this episode, and they said the goal was to be as true as possible, and they didn't have to fabricate because it was a story in itself. Like this was a story. Like we don't really have to add, much. And this is the bridge between them getting to, Normandy and everything happened there. This the bridge between that to like it's looking like they about to go into a colder climate, like with less ammunition, less supplies, and a whole lot of stuff. Remember at the end, we saw the group of people look defeated, coming back. And that's where we saw the Jimmy Fallon cameo. So we saw the Jimmy Fallon was in this for a couple minutes. I don't know if you caught him, Damon, but he was in it for a couple minutes. He had a couple lines. And I heard Tom Hanks was in it, but I ain't see him, but we got some avid B.O.B. fans that listen to the reviews. So I'm sure they kind of point out where Tom Hanks was. Another thing about Band of Brothers that I want to come back to is the Blythe episode. So one of our fans, so we talked about Blythe dying and it being apparent through the laundry scene. One of our fans told me that Band of Brothers, the show, was actually incorrect about the story about Blythe. And Blythe actually lived like a lot longer than the show City lived. So even the words at the end. So I definitely want to, come back and check that. And that's the beauty of interaction, man. We love for people to come and let us know, fact check some stuff like that. As somebody talked about those forces being segregated at that time. Because I know we talked about integration and segregation on one of our reviews. So all of the people that's giving us feedback, we appreciate it and we love it. I heard this episode gets better with time, and I heard this episode means more in like when you get to the totality of the show. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to watching this episode. This was another good episode. It was about Winners. Winners is kind of like the protagonist here. So again, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Next time we come, man, we got to talk about Alwyn Cash. We have to, man.
Yeah.
We have
Most
to
definitely.
talk about Alwyn Cash, and we will. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of Permission to Speak Freely. And man, I can't wait till the next one. We got some really good guests lined up. It's just going to be a good time, fun, a lot of learning, a lot of kind of like healing, maybe. I don't know. Are we healing at all, Damon?
No healing.
That's like always that's like a catchword, healing. But it's definitely going to be a lot of talk, a lot of learning conversations, man. Thanks for sticking with us, for everybody that like been with us since like the very first episode. Like, thank you guys. And then for all the new listeners, man, we appreciate you guys. We love you.
Most definitely. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Peace.
Happy Valentine's Day.